One moment. All right, we are on.
All right, welcome everyone. Today is Monday, November 21st, 2022. We're here for the Orange Township regular Board of Trustees meeting. I'll call this meeting to order. Ms. Kraft, if you please call roll.
Mr. Grumbles.
Here.
Ms. Knapp. Here. Mrs. Faust. Here.
Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. We have no public here for public comment, so we'll go straight to the 2023 health insurance renewal.
Evening, trustees. It's November, and November means two things. It means Thanksgiving and insurance renewals. So we have Dean Stitz is here from McGowan Brabender, and if you remember, we transitioned to McGowan Brabender as our broker back in July, and Dean was here and kind of gave us an overview of MB and what they offer us. And as we look at renewals, I think the big takeaway for me is that McGowan Brabender, number one, has been a great partner. Number two, they shopped us aggressively. And number three, I think we have some good results. And I'm going to let Dean just take it from here and give maybe a 30,000 foot overview on how we got to this point and consensus for the board to keep going.
Yeah, good evening. Rewind. Last time I was here, it was more about, choosing a broker partner to kind of facilitate what happens after that, right? Annually through the process. So working with Michelle, Mike, and the insurance committee, kind of out the gate, what we did leading up to your January 1st renewal was comprehensively quote the market. In order to do that, we have to complete a process called Form FIRE for an organization of this size, which is a electronic medical questionnaire, if you will. This slide here then is just kind of the plans as you have as they were today. So that upper left box is the lines that were up for renewal. So the primary being medical with Aetna, and then dental, some of those voluntary lines of coverage with both Kemper Health and Aflac. And then that lower right is anything that was in a rate hold. We still looked at it, but the nice silver lining there is you don't necessarily have to make a change. So we did that kind of behind the scenes, working with Mike and Michelle, and then had that meeting with the committee last week, in which we kind of walked through the various proposals. It's always exciting when there is good news to share in a very not exciting world of insurance and health insurance for that matter. So Michelle, are there other slides? Okay. So essentially, with medical insurance being the leading cost driver of what the organization is offering employees and their families, Aetna initially came in with a 12% increase over what it was this year in 2022. And then what we do, and the reason we do Form FIRE is to, it's not necessarily to always move. Change is a pain. But it helps us go back to incumbent carrier to say, hey, do better. And so that's exactly what we did. Aetna did not move as much as you would have generally liked to see. So they went from 12% to 9%, even with competitive offers from not only, Anthem, which is the most competitive, but also from MMO, Medical Mutual of Ohio, in comparison to the Aetna proposal. So Aetna's was firm and final. So we had a conversation around Anthem as an insurance carrier, which I think the township has been with Anthem before. Anthem is what I would label kind of, one of the core four that are competitive here in Central Ohio and surrounding area as it relates to provider network and comprehensive, coverage and administrative service as well. And maybe the one piece that I'll probably jump into your guys' shoes, the difference between just Anthem, and then Anthem ERC is the ERC is more of a wellness program. It's almost like you got to be invited onto the island in a way. You have to have a competitive or a compelling risk score. And Anthem ERC thought Orange Township could be a good candidate, so they put together a proposal. The reason we're leading with that and the direction that we'd like to go is it's more of a stable year-over-year reality. You're pooled with other healthier organizations, and then there's a lot of incentive behind wellness. You get dollars off if you do this. So there's a intentional drive to be better health consumers. So even though it's at a 1% less of a decrease, it's the direction I think the team in Mago and Bravener would recommend. Questions about any of that?
One other benefit of the ERC is it'll be an 18-month contract instead of a 12-month contract.
I was going to ask, because I see that Anthem looks a little slight, maybe like, what, $50 difference or something. So it sounds like the ERC has packed in benefits that could reduce the cost.
Correct.
Offset for employees.
And Mike brings up a fantastic point. Also
18 months.
6 months extra.
Yeah.
And then, Mike and I were talking about it beforehand. January 1st is the most reoccurring renewal, so carriers are like busier than they're, ever going to be in any other given month. Because this program is built on a July 1st renewal date, you get a little bit better, effort, not only from, in this particular case, the incumbent would be Anthem, but then if we, completed Form Fire again, we're doing that. We get better interest from the carriers. As you can see, like United Healthcare didn't even try to quote.
Yeah.
Well, maybe fast forward this 16 months when we're doing this all over again, you could get a better response because the underwriting team at UHC has more time. So generally more good comes from making an off-cycle renewal change for multiple reasons, but 6 extra months of no increase is nice too.
If we can get that another iteration, we also internally save a full year of administrative cost in coming up with all the quote effort that Mike and the team have put into, and the committee, et cetera. So every 2 times we save a year of effort on our end too. So that's real beneficial.
And a lot of your other lines, medical is obviously the primary, but some of your other lines, and you're reaping the benefit. Like vision isn't even up for renewal, so it doesn't even have to be a focus, right? So the longer you can kind of build contracts like that, the better. You generally don't see that in medical. You see it more reoccurring in some of the ancillary lines. So it's nice to even have that as an option for medical.
So do employees have to make their decision for a full 18 months?
No, it will still be a 12-month from the employee level experience. Yeah.
Because I was thinking at the end of the year, if you're trying to decide, get on your spouse's plan or,
Right.
I didn't know how that would
Eventually
work.
it'll be, so there will be a year, and it's really 2024. It's crazy to say that we'll do kind of this all over again next year, or at least from the employee level, and then they'll technically do it again on like spring. So that's just because it'll start to then shift to a 7-1. So there will be this experience for like, if you're familiar with, hey, I'm looking at my spouse's coverage versus mine. Eventually that decision date that an employee is going to have to think about will be in the spring. Just fast forward maybe 18 months for that reality to occur.
So
But it will be a different time of year.
How do they do that when they haven't been made aware of their spouse's benefits until usually August or September of that year?
That's just a reality that I think a lot of, not every plan renews on January 1st. It's nice when they do. If you jump into a spouse, if you 2 working people at home, but then even within that window, an organization, let's use Worthington Steel, just someone I drove by coming here. They're doing open enrollment in September, whereas if a spouse worked here, they're not doing open enrollment until November. So there is always this, most often there is this mismatch of you don't even, like the stars don't perfectly align.
Oh yeah, but that's like 6 months. Just seems like it's a lot. Like
Yeah.
even when you're trying to do like your flexible spending account and things, like trying to anticipate
Sure.
your costs, and that's.
Is
But just for this purpose, they would only need to decide for 12 months this time
Yeah.
around, so they could change at the end of.
Yeah, and it's a qualifying event. If, hey, circumstances have changed with my employer's coverage and I now want to enroll on, there is, not that it's a direct life qualifying event, but it is
But
indirectly.
just because your spouse is offering insurance like they always have, that is a qualifying event?
If your employer changes, right? Like if it's
Yeah.
our re-up time
Mhm.
next spring of 24, and we decide not to, we can switch to our spouses.
But so usually at the end of the year, you can make a choice for a lot of people between two different health insurances or the reimbursement or whatever, and or maybe even going off on your own plan, I guess, if you want to pay $5,000. But so at the end of the year, you need to make that decision, but you wouldn't be able to make that decision. You'd have to wait 6 more months. You have to do it 6 months in advance when your employer, the other employer, doesn't know what the costs are going to be. Or
We do have some employers that have, there's a couple individuals that asked for what our insurance was going to be a few weeks ago because their spouses was due a few weeks ago and we didn't have that. So there's always going to be some
Timing
time.
was all
There's always
But
going to be
that's
a gap.
6 months. That's June. Wouldn't you have to know by May, or probably by May? I mean, that's substantial compared to like October, November. Because then you're asking to make, I don't know, a big commitment for that. I don't know.
What you could do though, if you enrolled in that, because open enrollment would still occur, right?
Mhm.
And
Yeah.
during the year, you're saying like every year open enrollment happens, or when we moved to 18 months, it's every 18 months.
No, it would eventually be we're doing open enrollment right now in the month of December for the next 12 months.
Uh-huh.
Fast forward 18 months, it would realistically we'd be hosting open enrollment in June for 12 months then forward.
Yeah, so
And
there's
then
going
it'd
to
be
be,
every-
It's still
it'd be every
12
June.
months.
It's
It'd be
still
12 months
So you might have a couple month gap, Lisa.
until we get
They
going.
could, right. So what they could do is like if they knew their spouse's coverage was better, they could not enroll in coverage here, which would be a qualifying event. They would have lost coverage, and then they can enroll in their spouse's program. So it wouldn't be,
But they would have to. So okay, so you're saying if you drop the insurance here, that is a qualifying event, and they could roll onto their others immediately.
loss of coverage is a qualifying
Yeah.
event.
But is it voluntary loss of coverage?
It doesn't define that.
It is on the list of qualifying events. I don't like to. It doesn't sound like a qualifying event because it's an election.
Yeah.
But it is a legal right to make that decision at that point in time. If you look
can't
far
do
enough
that.
down that list, yeah.
Okay, and then because some people would decide also to take the reimbursement or whatever, and I
Yeah.
don't know how that would. And does this affect our contact with the fire department at all?
No.
No. All right, go ahead.
That was
I just
it.
wondered.
There's the qualifying
okay.
question. Yep, you asked it.
So this doesn't take any flexibility away from the employees. What you're saying,
And
right?
this does lower the cost I saw. Right?
Yeah. And this-
5% roughly, 40%.
So on top of this is the difference card, which is like an HRA account, but like for lack of better terms on steroids, like it's a very comprehensive benefit offering, which kind of has cost on top of that. So, factoring in a 5% decrease here with an increase on the difference card, regardless that was occurring, it actually comes in flat. So the negative 4.8 actually ends up being a 0. But in a very common world where it's a 10 to 15 to even 20% increase year over year, it's a very compelling story to be able to tell employees into 2023 that there's going to be no changes outside of a carrier. But as it results to rates, our recommendation is to hold them flat.
My husband's rates go up.
yeah, and if I could just add, the one thing that I would also think wouldn't affect employees that do not take our insurance is the benefit bonus would go down. I don't think it'd be a lot, but if it's calculated based on our insurance rates, then the benefit bonus would also decrease.
No other questions for me?
Okay.
So we need to give consent to move forward, and I'm giving mine. I have no problem with this. I think it's great work. I like the 18 months for sure, and glad you all for doing this seamlessly. We've had a lot of effort in the past, and it's not been organized in this fashion, and I think it's done exceptionally well. It's very straightforward, so thank you.
Yeah, it's the easiest one ever.
Yeah.
I think ever
Okay.
in 20 years.
Notably,
Is this
Yeah.
is this
Yeah,
for
this is-
real?
What we talked
Don't
about at
question it.
the committee level is this is a win for the township. It's a win for the employees. McGowan Bravebender has been great and tireless, and the committee's done a great job in listening and making some really good
Who's
decisions.
on the committee right now?
We have a representative for each department.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's staying was set up as, okay.
Yeah.
Stability is always good, especially right now with all of the volatility outside of work, that we don't control, obviously. And if we can bring some stability, it's awesome.
Absolutely.
And no changes. The coverage is all the same, right?
Yeah.
Right. I think.
I think Mike stacked the deck a little bit with when he found that. I mean, how could you say no? Come on.
Okay, well, I'm fine with it.
Yeah,
then.
I'm fine.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
So I have
Thank you.
consensus?
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Very good job.
Thank you, board.
Thank you.
We still have a few minutes, so I would like to get,
The consent agenda?
yeah, we'll get the agenda changes. I know there's a couple of those. We've got some new business with fire department, had some changes. Michelle, you just want to announce what the changes are?
Sure, yes. So as far as agenda changes go, under new business, just announcements, we'll add. And then I'm not aware of the fire one.
Was that the one we just talked about, the PO? We have that.
It's in red. just
We
didn't
don't
know-
have that under here.
Oh, you don't? Okay. So it's in the template.
Yeah, it's in the template. It was the fire report, the new business Route 23 Connect study. I think there's a public announcement about a gardening benefit. And then I also, I can do it right now, but wanted to recognize Olentangy School District, specifically Orange Middle School. They've been longtime supporters of the Veterans Memorial. So this year, their students raised $8,000, and half of that they have donated to the Veterans Memorial fundraiser. The other half was for a veteran nonprofit, and I believe the focus of it,
Marine families? Is that what it was?
it was just military families.
Okay.
But it was I think it was a Marine Corps, like a foundation, but it serves military families. I think mental health, if I remember correctly, which I'm a big fan of, the being open and fighting the stigma there. So it was unbelievable turnout, and I was there. They asked me to come on behalf of the township, and I showed up, and Trustee Faust was serving breakfast and helping other people on the PTO there put this event on. The gym was packed full. They had the orchestra, the band, all of their middle school students. Superintendent was there. It was unbelievable. Very well done, and I understand they do that annually. So it was really cool to hear. They recognized certain students that went above and beyond, but really grateful for this and the partnership and how long they've supported the memorial. So I do want to make sure, Mr. Bowers and Miss Bonnie, that we send over to them, and I'm happy to share the email address to the teachers involved, the latest and greatest plans. And as we adopt a formal timeline and materials and things, continue to engage with them. Anytime we can get our young community members engaged in something this worthy of a cause, I think that's awesome. And they expressed a lot of interest in seeing the pictures and kind of tracking it. And keep in mind, the centerpiece was designed by a student. So I think that's really cool.
They've done it every year since when did that? 2013, I think.
Yeah, it's
10
been
years now.
several years.
10
Like they're the
times.
predominant donor. If you look at the Delaware County
Are they?
Foundation,
Oh,
like because of the iterations,
They have been.
they
wow.
iterate how many times they donate.
38,000 or something that was there before our big donation that we just got.
Yeah. So
Wow.
think about that. The students, middle school students out there raising funds. That's amazing. Testament to hard work.
I think they're the only ones that do that, are they?
Yeah, every year like that. Yep,
That's right.
it's great.
Yeah, thank you
The only
for that.
school. Yeah.
No, I think there's other schools that do some sort of event, but I think they're
Not-
the ones that are
Are
contributing.
donating.
Yeah, the only
Correct,
ones doing
correct.
it. Yeah, they all do it.
That's-
They all
that's
do
true.
events. Yeah.
Do we want to do the other announcements? Since
We can.
Okay.
Yeah. Go ahead.
Just wanted the community to be aware of the DC 23 study. This was something that came up a couple years ago. There were, let's see, in 2001, they started a study and trying to determine the feasibility of free flow connections between Toledo and Columbus, focusing on the area between Waldo and 270. And there were 6 different options that was out within the community a bit ago, and they decided none of those options were any good. So now the second phase of the study is going to focus on identifying specific intersections and segments along 23 that are particularly problematic and potential solutions. So now ODOT they gave it to the government level earlier this summer. We all had a chance to weigh in, and now it's the opportunity for the community to weigh in. So we're asking anybody who has an opinion to go to publicinput.com/23connect. And it's our opportunity as residents to have a say in what happens, basically. So this survey is going to be available, started earlier last week through January 15th. So we've got some time over the holidays. And then next year, there'll be more opportunities to provide feedback on the proposed project before the study recommendations are expected to be finalized in the fall of 23. So for everybody who cares what 23 looks like, and now's our chance to speak on that.
We'll share that link. Can we share that link on our social media and stuff like
It's already on the
Is it?
Facebook and the website.
that? Okay.
Yes. What's it called? The survey.
The
23 Connect.
23
The
Connect.
Choice Reconnect survey.
Mhm.
And does it say which intersection?
No, that we get to go and we'll talk. We get a say on which ones are problematic or safety or keep lights, take lights out, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I'm really glad to see all the rest of the plans fail. I don't think any of them were very good. So I think this is a better idea.
I agree, 100%. Yeah.
And then the other announcement we have is the health department reached out to us the end of last week and with their monthly newsletter. And one of the things in there is free composting that's going to be done within Delaware County. So that's pretty exciting. I asked Sydney to put it on our Facebook page, so that's there as well. So what we can do normally if residents are interested in composting, you have to pay for the bucket and you pay for a service kind of a thing. So this, my understanding, is we can get the bucket for free at the City of Delaware Public Works office, and then you have to take it, but you can take it to Price Farms Organics.
Oh, great. They are amazing.
Yeah, they're great. So, and there is and you can put in all food, raw, cooked scraps, meat, bones, oil, coffee grounds, dairy, paper towels, and napkins. And it's open to all City of Delaware and Delaware County residents. Take your full bucket up to the farms, Price Farms Organics, and they will tell you where to dump it. And if you want compost back, like you take your bucket of moldy food, and then you want actual compost to put in your garden, my understanding is $2 to get compost.
That's a great deal.
Where do you keep the bucket? Does it keep all the stuff in it, right?
If it's a compost bucket like I've seen, it's going to be sealed, right? So
Sealed,
in
okay.
your garage, on your back deck, I don't know.
Well, I know a lot of residents have sought out things to do with their yard clippings and waste and stuff. It's
So
constant.
I wouldn't think this would be yard clippings because I'm picturing a bucket that's about this.
Right, they're just looking for
This is
a way to be less wasteful in
Yes.
general, right? So this satisfies a portion of that.
Yes,
So that's good.
So.
And Price Organics, Tom Price has been a staple of Delaware County for decades. They do so much outreach and good work for the county. They employ a lot of folks with disabilities too. If you ever go up there, it's an amazing business. He's a wonderful, wonderful human being, and worked with Community Garden as well, and gave us a great deal, knowing that we were supporting the food pantry in the prior year. So it's not surprising to me.
How far away is it?
It's about
kinda far,
28
isn't it?
minutes
Yeah,
from here.
it's a little
From
bit of a
Township
drive.
Hall.
So
So
you-
maybe
you wanna
go in
carp-
with your neighbors and
yeah.
carpool,
Carpool,
take turns.
compost pool.
Right.
Well, because if you're spending all that gas
Right.
driving, it kind
Right, I know,
of
I thought about that.
you gotta have some kind
If
of.
anybody wants to compost pool with me, I'll
Find a neighbor with a Tesla. Save the fossil fuels.
That's a lot of gas. That's 28 miles, a lot of gas. Well, it's 60 miles, I guess.
All right.
17 miles. 20 minutes.
Okay, 20.
17 miles, 20.
Thanks, Trustee Faust,
Yep.
for staying engaged and bringing this up to speed. The other thing I would say from a public information standpoint, I've been getting an uptick in emails about the Big Walnut interchange. I consistently get them quarterly, but since I think the presentation or since the commissioners had spoken of an interest, it's a heightened frequency that I'm getting 3, 4, 5 a week, if not more.
Yeah.
I would, based on what Rob Riley shared and the engineer's office shared with us at the last meeting, I would say let's try and figure out some sort of response that we can post to just comment on what Rob said. Maybe we can take it directly out of the meeting or ask him for a statement, because he made it very clear that that's,
I think it's gonna be dead.
yeah,
right?
it's dead. It's already dead.
Is it already? It's,
Well, ODOT pulled out, so that means
Oh,
it's,
is ODOT pulled
yeah,
out?
they said it's not feasible because of the impact on 71 after Gemini and all that.
somebody said it would back up for 4 miles, right?
Right. So it's starting from scratch, if that. So I think if we put out a blanket statement, I know Trustee Knapp and myself both publicly stated that we oppose it, and we could put that in there in the meeting. It was part of the meeting, so it's on record. And
Is it the commissioners that make the ultimate decision?
no,
Is it ODOT?
it's yeah, the commissioners can advocate for it.
But
But,
ODOT makes the
Yeah,
final decision?
it's an ODOT. ODOT is the
100%?
yeah. So I think that would be something just to satisfy the. Obviously, they don't know because they keep emailing. So that way we can put that out, forward a link to some folks over there that are emailing us, and
But I'm so glad they're emailing because I don't want them to give up on it, just in case it somehow gets revived, you know?
yes,
Like, I don't want to assure anyone because I don't want that, there's such a huge group of people working on that I want to make sure they all keep up the fight because it's,
oh, I do too. What I want to do is let them know that from a township standpoint, what we heard directly
Yeah.
from the county, and then our position, and as board members. So.
yeah, but keep contacting the commissioners.
Correct.
Yeah, because the
In other
commissioners
words,
were in favor
if you have
for it.
concern, direct them to ODOT, right? Not
Or-
us. We don't have a dog in the
Or
fight. We
the
have no
county
say, no vote,
commissioners too.
other than to publicly state, as we've done repeatedly.
I work on a statement with the county engineers.
Thank you. As far as the consent agenda, I'm going to move into that, but we have some big items on there. I know we're moving some funds around. We had already had the fire truck, the new fire truck on order, but with the ARP funds, we're moving some funds around, correct? So I just want to, go ahead.
No, we had originally allocated it from 2191, but when we get into appropriations, you'll get a little clearer view. We want to free up that money in the fire fund, and we have about $550,000 remaining of ARP funds after Bale Canyon. So the team thought this would probably be the best use for those funds.
So just want to be clear on that because it's a large dollar amount. So if any residents are concerned, they can take a look at that closer. Any questions on the consent agenda from the board? No?
Nope.
All right, make a motion to approve resolution 22-364 and 22-365 of the consent agenda.
Are we gonna? Sorry, 363 would be the first
No,
number.
he's going to keep the number order.
Consistent. Okay.
Yeah. So then he'll go back. It'll go backwards for,
Correct.
yes.
Okay, I apologize.
Is it?
I can-
set?
I can change it if you want. I can.
Makes your life easier.
Yes.
Makes my life a lot easier.
Okay.
All right. So is that right then?
Yep,
Is
we
it,
can do it that way.
second?
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes?
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes, it's just a reference at the end of the day. That's all it is. So. Okay.
Oh, 6 o'clock. Timing.
I think we have, you didn't notify them that we were tabling the zoning? I'm just joking.
Yeah, it's like I didn't know if I.
Quite a crowd coming, so I just wanted to
Is the applicant here?
Yeah.
let everyone get settled in. We got about a minute left, and so for those that are waiting to sign in, we may open the hearing while you're signing in, and that's okay. Find a seat, and we'll get moving forward, okay? All right. We'll go ahead and open the zoning hearing for zoning application 22-09 of Aurora Farms. Turn it over to you, sir, Mr. Duffy.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good evening, Board. We are here to discuss rezoning case ZON-22-09, also known as Aurora Farms. The applicant is HM Latitude LLC for property owned by NFMS Properties LLC. The site is located at 5351 North Road. This is a rezoning request, requesting to rezone one parcel totaling 24.019 acres from a single-family planned residential district to a new single-family planned residential district to allow for a condominium development. The surrounding area, the parcel is surrounded on four sides, essentially, by planned residential. To the north is planned residential, the Berlin Township section of Evans Farm. To the south and to the west, the North Farm subdivisions, and to the east are the railroad tracks and the future Jennings Sports Park at Evans Farm. The 2018 Comprehensive Land Use Plan, Planning Orange, this parcel is located in sub-area 13 of the Comprehensive Land Use Plan. This sub-area encourages planned office, planned commercial, or single-family at 2 units per acre south of Shanahan Road and west of the schools. You can see there the illustrative plan for the proposed development.
You go back up to that. So they're freestanding condominiums?
They are detached single-family condominiums, yes, sir.
All right. And the intent of that is to have them sold? Is there a rental stipulation or any of that?
Not that I'm aware of.
Okay, we'll get into that one after. Here we go, Kurt.
In terms of permitted uses, the applicant is proposing 79 total units. I will note that this was previously 85. The original submittal included duplexes along the railroad tracks. At the suggestion of the Zoning Commission, those duplexes have been removed. Now all the units are freestanding single-family condominiums for a total of 79 units. The total density of the site would be 3.28 dwelling units per acre. That would be a divergence from the Orange Township zoning resolution. The standard for single-family planned residential district is 2 units per acre. The plans for the dwellings themselves show a mix of 2-bedroom and 3-bedroom units.
Robin, real quick, what's the, is the maximum density for multifamily, is that 4 units an acre?
That is correct. In terms of development standards, there are a number of divergences that the applicant has requested, essentially because this is a condominium style development and does not have traditional fee simple lots. So there are divergences requested for lot width, lot depth, and side yard setbacks. In their place, the applicant is seeking a divergence to allow residential structures to be located no closer than 12 feet minimum between units for the side yard. The rear yard setback, there would not be a setback per se, but the rear facade to facade separation is proposed at 40 feet. In terms of setbacks from the roads, North Road, Shanahan Road, and Hibbing Lane are all Class C roads under the Orange Township zoning resolution, which triggers a 30-foot minimum setback from the right-of-way. The applicant is proposing an increased setback along North Road and Shanahan Road. That would be 60 feet from those roads, and then 20 feet from the interior private roads within the development. Maximum lot coverage, this development would comply with single-family planned residential standards, and then minimum floor space, proposing a minimum living area for each single-family dwelling unit to be at least 1,500 square feet. Staff comment, we are generally supportive of the divergences for setback requirements and lot sizes, as this is a condominium style development that does not have the traditional platted lots that's just not accounted for within our zoning text.
Is there a reason they picked pickleball? They know how to win our hearts over?
You will have to ask them.
Okay.
In terms of architectural elements, the front of the units shall be comprised entirely of stone, brick, cultured stone, or wood, or cementitious fiber, such as hardy plank, or any combination thereof. Exteriors are prohibited to be finished with high gloss or high chroma colors. Same or similar front elevations and or color treatment shall not be repeated for any home located within one unit on either side or directly across the street from the subject home in order to provide some architectural diversity. In terms of open space proposed is roughly 7.8 acres, 32.58%. That exceeds the minimum required, which is 20%. Total open space without the basin and pond is 6.94 acres, or 28.89%, which again exceeds that 20% requirement. The centralized green space in the center of the development does include a single pickleball court, as well as an outdoor viewing area, gazebo, grills, and fire pit. Lighting would be in compliance with the Orange Township zoning resolution. Minimal street lighting is proposed. I believe 3 fixtures in total. All lighting fixtures will have a minimum of a maximum of 12 feet in height. Parking does meet the district requirements. 316 parking spaces, or 4 per dwelling unit, are proposed. That exceeds the minimum number of 237, or 3 per dwelling unit that is required. The internal streets will be private streets. They're proposed to be 26 feet in pavement, and parking will be limited to one side of the street. No parking signs will be installed on the other side of the street after construction on the same side of the street as fire hydrants. All condominiums will have a two-car garage and driveway for 2 cars minimum, not encumbering any sidewalk or street. In terms of signage, the applicant is proposing 1 monument sign at the entrance of the development, which would comply with the signage standards of the zoning resolution. In terms of access, 2 vehicular access points are proposed. One is off of North Road and entering on the west side of the property. The other access proposed is shown extending from the current Hibbing Lane from the parcel to the south into their development. So Hibbing Lane would be a public road. It would tee off into the private internal streets. The applicant has also proposed a 10-foot asphalt multi-use pathway, both along North Road and then Shanahan Road, and then 5-foot asphalt and concrete multi-use paths are to be included internally within the development itself. There are a total of 9 divergences requested as part of this development, listing them off. A divergence from 10.06, the requirement of having a plat, waiving the platting requirement since the development will take place on a single condominium lot. They are requesting a divergence from section 10.07A, intensity of use, to increase the density to 3.28 dwelling units per acre. Again, the requirement is 2 per acre. They are requesting a divergence from 10.07A1, maximum units to a single acre, to allow for the maximum density per acre to be increased to 8 dwelling units per acre. A divergence from section 10.07C, lot width, D, lot depth, 10.07E, side yard setback, and 10.07G, rear yard setback. They are also requesting a divergence from section 10.07F, the building setbacks from internal roads. Again, since the internal roads will be private, they're proposing a 20-foot setback from those private internal roads. And final divergence, section 21.03, structure separation, proposing that the required 15 feet minimum structure separation setback be reduced to 12 feet minimum.
Robin,
yes, ma'am.
You said they allow the maximum density to be increased to 8 dwelling units an acre?
So on a single acre, not for the total development.
And what is the normal requirement for that?
I believe it's 3 in single family plan residential district.
3 on any single acre, but so these are clustered. Some of these might be up to 8. Okay.
They actually have a chart in there that.
Yeah, there's only one.
Yeah.
That's 8, one 7.5. The bulk of them are 4.
2 to 3, maybe 4.
3 and 4.
Which that's how they get the average down to the 3, roughly just over 3.
Oh, yeah.
It's that one in the middle, and it's interesting because technically you could, when I looked at that, you can consider some of the, if you, not cardinal directions here, but if you look to the bottom side or south of that, a portion of that extends over to that acre, so you could technically divide that out a little bit.
Yeah, it's common in cluster housing, I think. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Language is in the development text that clarifies that accessory buildings such as sheds or storage units or barns would not be permitted within this district, but patios, decks, outdoor fireplaces, etc., would be permitted to be constructed at the rear of the condo units with approval from the condo association. In terms of technical agencies, the Orange Township Fire Department has reviewed and approved the site plans for this development. The Orange Township Zoning Commission voted to recommend approval with modifications with a 3-0 vote of this request. The modification was that the applicant would provide the approval letter from the fire department, as they had not done so prior to that Zoning Commission hearing. That process has been completed, and the fire department has reviewed and approved the application. Delaware County Regional Planning Commission also recommended conditional approval of this rezoning request, subject to 5 conditions, all of which have been satisfactorily met to the satisfaction of Orange Township staff. That concludes the staff report. I believe Mr. Jack Reynolds and Mr. Todd Ferris are here representing the applicant if the board has questions for them.
Jack, are you going to apply to one of our open positions or what?
Every week now.
Welcome back.
Fairly often. I do have a master's in planning.
I did not know that.
My name's Jack Reynolds. I'm an attorney with Smith & Hale, and I'm happy to see you all again this evening. I am here on behalf of the owner and the applicant, and Robin always does a good job in making the presentation. So let me just give you a little background information on why we're here this evening. This property's got a little bit of history. And so as we started to look at the property, we wanted to bring to you something that is needed in the community, but something that would be more acceptable than the last 2 applications that were in front of you. So we started early this year and started looking at some different alternatives. We looked at doing a multi-family type of rezoning. When we looked at what has been done in the past, we said we don't really want to go down that road. So we looked at the standalone condominium type of development. And so that's what we went with. We then started struggling with, do we call this a single family versus a multifamily under your all's classifications? And we said either zoning district would require variances. So we went with what we felt was more representative of what's being proposed to you today. That's why you see the variances for setbacks, side yards, etc. We'd like to think it is a single-family community. And so, given that we've presented to you the elevation, some very nice-looking, 1.5-story houses with anywhere from 1,500 up above 2,000 square feet when you finish the second floor, but they are only 1.5-story types of houses. So again, we went with single family because it is single family.
I'm sorry, what was proposed on here? Was that in the last couple of years prior to this?
It was multifamily.
Yeah, it was what was the density of that? Like 8 units? It was between 7 and 8 units, I think.
It was, they
Multiple
came
levels.
forward with just a apartment first, and that was dense. Then it was a condo development, and I think it was 144 units or
Yes,
something.
and the density didn't move too much. It was the way they got to it that changed. Yeah.
Okay, I think it was.
Is that
when I
right?
wasn't
You were
here.
there. I remember it. There you go. One time. Don't act like we haven't met.
We still got scars. And so what we did, given the history of the property, and again, it's a challenging property with the railroad tracks and with the new park that has finally come to fruition. I mean, you're talking a 24-hour-a-day type, 12-month park with a lot of amenities. It's a part of it, which is just on the other side of the railroad track. So it posed some problems. So we did come forward with an 85-unit development with 12 duplexes as a part of the original submittal. What we did was, knowing that there was some interest from the community to the east, Robin was kind enough to give us all of the email addresses of the people that had shown up in the past. And we set up a meeting in this building, in this room, on July 7th, and invited all of those people to come to a meeting, an informal one, prior to even submitting the package to you all. And at that meeting, 4 people showed up. And so we went around, answered questions. We identified one of the members of the community as a contact, and he came to the following 2 meetings with the Planning Commission. We forwarded to him any amendments that were made. So this will be really the 5th meeting that we've had on this development. And we continued over the period of time to make some adjustments. And, you can see the quality that we're putting into the buildings. They're $350,000 to $500,000 units, depending on the improvements that we're going to be putting into the buildings. We've improved the rear elevations at the request of the Planning Commission. Again, there are 3 different variations in terms of the floor plans, and with each one they have greater square footage, and then within each one of those square footage there are 3 fronts and rears that are available. So we're looking for a diverse community. So I think that kind of goes to your comment, Mr. Grumbles, as to whether there's going to be very many rentals. I can't see this as being a rental community, given that we're selling the units from $350,000 to $500,000. I guess it could be, but
But not like apartments, like.
No, it's
because they're
not
much more
like.
expensive.
Because the planned, what I was asking about the condo association is typically they'll have, even HOAs will have a percentage that they'll allow. And then, yeah. So I didn't know if they had established that yet.
I don't think they've established it yet.
Or like deed restrictions or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
It will be
essentially-
part of the HOA.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, you said how many bedrooms can these have at the most?
2 to 3.
But
There's
will they all have?
Yeah,
two?
and there's a couple with more.
There's one that has a flex room.
Yeah,
But
upstairs.
I'm looking at the layout of these. They're really well done.
Yeah. And it's
They're
first
really
floor
good looking.
master. I mean, we're envisioning this as an empty
Open
nester.
concept.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yeah, with the vaulted ceiling, et
Or
cetera.
40-year-old trustee with bad knees type thing. Yeah.
Exactly.
That's me. Oh, wait, I'm 50.
that wants a nice home, but doesn't want to have to mow the grass, remove the snow.
There's a market for it.
That type of deal. So that's what we were looking for in terms of the type of clientele. And I think that's needed up here in the area. And this was a way to get there. And so we've gone through and we've given you in the packet all of the changes that we've made at the request of the various governmental agencies as well as the Planning Commission. And so we think we've made it a better product with each step. We are down to 79 units. We are at 3.29 or 28 dwellings to the acre. We did do a traffic study. Traffic study was done at the county engineer, even though we were suggesting that it's empty nester, that there is a separate district or a metric for senior housing, but unless you're deed restricting it, they won't allow you to do that.
So they did the traffic study based on assuming there was families.
Just as if it were regular, and based on that, we are not required to do any lanes out on the public street.
I don't even think that the prior applicant was required to,
No.
even though they had double the density of this application. So if I recall correctly. And I think the difference too is now the timeline for the Shanahan expansion is, we're having open dialogue there. So we understand that. And more importantly, the funding for that is materializing. So it's a different time, number one. And I disagreed then with the density and the impact it would have on traffic in that area, just based on those designs. I think this would be, half that. Obviously, is a lot more reasonable. So I just, when I look through the pictures of the floor plan, I think they're great. They look awesome.
And we have a lot of attendance here this evening. When we had our first planning commission meeting, there were maybe 10 people in the audience. And then the last meeting, there were maybe a few more, maybe 12, 13. So, we went through the concerns of the neighbors. What we have done, again, is try to address them the best we can. We provided, there was some concern, and you'll see it in the book, about sight lines from the community to the looking west.
Yep.
And we showed the mounding and the landscaping that, really hides what we're doing, because they have 2-story houses and we've got 1.5-story
Right.
houses.
It's very critical to maintain a visual on the train.
Correct.
Yes.
And that's why the boards asked us to line up the rear of the units and provide some nicer looking rear exteriors. So again, we've been through the process, and I know that you all like to see as we move through it, it gets better. And so we'd like to think that we've given you a really nice project here that is worth your all support. And I will answer any questions, and Todd's here to answer any questions. But again, we think that, again, given 4 months, 5 months worth of work on it publicly, that we've come up with something that's good for the community.
Well, I'll start because I was here. I think the only board member that voted on the prior application still on the board. And so, a lot of the challenges with that, number one, it started with the residents in the existing area, right? So there's a development, North Farms, and they built in phases, right? So obviously they wanted to retain the integrity of the neighborhood. I spoke to some members of the HOA there more recently, and one of the pushbacks was almost like a going through the motions to do it with, engaging the residents, that type of thing. But I heard from people that live there, it was well done in this case. The way you engage them, that's all you can ask for as a board member serving the community, right? Is that they're taken into account and they're heard, they're listened to. The application changes through that process, that you took the duplexes out and that type of thing. I think that's a great gesture to the folks that live there to maintain the cohesiveness. I always talk about like transition, where if you look at 23, you have your commercial, so your apartments, etc., that phase into something like this, that phase into single family, so that you have, a nice transition in the community. You can look at Evans Farm, and kind of they just put the homes just like this right at the roundabout to transition into the neighborhood. I know they have the apartments in the front that face back in. It doesn't seem to have slowed down their progress. If anything, it's picked up over the last few years. But I think that structures of this kind in the residential footprint in the market are very appetizing and appealing right now, right? So you've got the interest rates that are skyrocketing, and you've got a whole host of different combination in the market right now. And I think the one part that we could use more of here is a place just like this that would allow folks that don't want the upkeep, don't have time for that. They're going to be busier, or they're going to be, again, an older clientele that doesn't want the upkeep or doesn't have time, right? So I think the aesthetics, a lot of times, probably look over that. But if you're looking for the cohesiveness, I look through your color schemes and everything, and it does complement what's there already very well with the blues and the shades and that kind of thing. So it looks like it fits in if you look at the neighborhoods around it and the way they've transitioned their areas. Evans Farm. I never thought that the sports park would be a deterrent, too big of a deterrent. I still don't, but I do think the train in that particular location is a bit challenging, and I think this is a good, for the market you're going after, right? I think it's less of an impact, and this fits the bill. I like that it's visually, it's not, you're not like, what in the heck, there's a 3-story building or whatever right here. You know, it fits in. So you've listened to the comments of the board previously, to the residents, and you put a good proposal before us, in my opinion. So I appreciate that engagement with the community and respect to the folks that already live there that you've shown in your design to add value. So thank you.
Are you ready to vote?
Well,
Yeah, I am ready. Sorry.
Sounds like, no, I have some questions. I have questions.
I'm sure you do.
just for the record, we did receive written comments from residents, about 40, and they most of them came over the weekend, so we were only able to send this to you first thing this morning. But
Yeah,
I read them.
there were like so many.
Yep.
Well, I have some questions. What was the vote by the zoning commission?
3-0.
3-0. Okay. And let's see here. So you said that cost range is going to be 300 to
50,000 to $500,000.
Okay, and does the applicant actually own this property right now, the HM Latitude?
They do.
Okay, and so
NFMS Properties LLC.
what is it?
NFMS Properties LLC, and they do own it. They've made the investment in the property.
Did they? And have they built any other properties, any other communities? This is their first one?
No, this is their first attempt, and they want to do a good job because this is their first opportunity to start building in the area. They're Central Ohio residents, and this was an opportunity for them to start building, and so they're looking forward to their first project.
Are any of the investors here tonight?
I do believe there are. You gentlemen want to weigh?
Okay. Are there? Do they own any other properties in Delaware County currently?
No,
Is this it?
not that I'm aware of.
Personally, probably, but not as
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, no development.
He owns a house.
A house.
A lot of
So
ground. Oh, a lot of ground.
I'm sorry. What?
I'm told.
My name is Kiran Messer. Live in General Township. Development. Finish the share. Want someone to think?
everything taken care of.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's nice. All right. Thank you. So, so the price. Okay. So I do understand the point. The Jennings Park, was that already planned when this rezoning went through? I mean, was it? Did you guys know about it when the property was purchased?
It was over there, but it was only recently that they came out with the overall plan.
Okay.
And Todd's got, what was it, a Business First article?
I think that had been been planned as a
Yeah,
sports
that
park
was-
for years.
Yeah.
Jennings Park has been approved since.
Yeah, it changed
3 or 4 years
names
ago.
several
Changed,
times,
yeah.
but the concept hasn't.
Yeah.
2018.
They just
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but aren't the lights are pretty high on the Jennings?
Right.
Aren't
That's
they
80 feet.
80 feet. So I think that was one difference. Like I wasn't expecting that when that must have improved last year or 2 years ago. Or
They filed an amendment to their zoning for the lighting in 2021. Recently,
I
1
know
or 2 years.
I wasn't here.
You were not here for that.
I would not have approved that. I would never approve that. But so I do think that in the applicant's favor, having 80-foot lights on the other and railroad tracks is definitely a mitigating factor because I don't know if people are going to necessarily want to build, $600,000 or $700,000 houses there. So that did make sense to me. But still, so the empty nesters, they seem to like things quiet. So if there's a railroad track and then there's also this possibly loud Jennings Sports Park, how are they really going to want to live there, especially when these house prices are actually not that much lower than a traditional single family house? Like what I could see if they were, I mean, they might all be built at the 350 or 400,000, but what will attract people to this property? What's the feature that is different about this that will actually attract the empty nesters? Because the advantage of empty nesters are very few, if any, school children. You typically, I know developers like to get up and say, oh, we'll generate 1 or 2 school children, and nobody ever believes them, but that's very true. They legitimately do generate practically 0 school-aged kids. So that saves, hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars over the years because they bring a lot of tax money in without having to educate kids. So that's one good advantage. But what is going to bring in empty, since if you're Epcon comes in and they have their plan and they have a knowledge of all their developments. And how do you know that other than the floor plan that these will actually attract older people that are willing to, empty nester types that are willing to spend this much money for a condo like this in that particular area?
Well, I think it is a review done by the purchasers of the property. They have to feel comfortable that they can, in fact, sell these units, even given that it is next door to the railroad tracks. So I would imagine that they have the ability to construct the units with, sound deafening materials, et cetera. We haven't gotten that deep into it yet. But, there are certain woods, materials that can be built into homes that can help deafen the noise. For
But it's
some
very expensive to do that, though.
Correct.
I mean, in theory, I would think that these would be more in the $350,000 range because of those situations with the the noise pollution from the the sports park, and the train. I mean, I'm even though I'm agreeing with that this might be an appropriate use because of those. I don't know if that 500,000 is actually a realistic price range for this, especially with the interest rates going up. And you can buy an Epcon condo anywhere in the county for 550,000, and that's not next to the railroad tracks. There's some competition there. I guess some of them are 600. Okay, and I do like the cluster style of house. I do like having a little bit of open area. I do approve of that. So you anticipate probably very few children.
Very few children.
Okay, and so in theory, that if the market crash and all of a sudden, that it's already kind of starting, and they have to sell this property quickly, they could build much less expensive units. They might not be quite this much for 200,000 or 300,000. That's possible under this plan, correct? Because we don't control prices.
Again, we're showing you what we're going to build.
The aesthetics and stuff wouldn't change, just the price point?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, we're committing to the look. So, I guess they could use
A little bit
different
cheaper.
kinds of materials, et cetera. But again, we're giving you exactly what we're going to build in terms of the look of the building and floor plans.
Yeah.
So that is a known commodity.
Yeah, those materials look pretty expensive overall. And let's see here. Do you have a question, Erica? You want to go? Go ahead. Yeah, I'll get to the rest of mine.
So when at the first zoning commission meeting, I think, Jackie, you mentioned that there's a development over in Dublin called Cottages of Ballantrae Woods.
Yes.
Now, is that the same? You said it's not the same owner, but is it the
Different
same?
owner, but exactly the same look.
Okay, so I drove that today.
Yeah.
It's lovely. It's a beautiful development. Everything looks like 1.5-story homes.
Yep.
It didn't. I mean, they're close. It's
Yeah.
not going to be like you don't have 40 feet from your house to the neighbors, but it was very, very well done.
Yeah.
So, and as I drove out of the development on probably the north side, you were right up against traditional
Single-family
houses.
houses.
So I just, looked at the address.
Yep.
So the one that I happened to drive by, the single-family home that was there was purchased in 19 for $555,000 and changed.
Yep.
So, and I looked at, someone's address of somebody that wrote a letter over the last weekend, and whoever house this was purchased for $451,000. And those were literally next door. Like, it's kind of like along Hibbing. It was in that.
Yeah.
You drove out and it's right there.
Yeah.
And how much
So-
more
That I don't know. I don't know what the
condos
price point of
are-
this condos is over there. Can you help us out with that one?
Were they near railroad tracks or
They were
anything?
not near railroad tracks.
But I don't think the I think to your point though, the impact on surrounding home values would be far,
Right.
it's not
I
gonna.
think the surrounding home values are going to be impacted by the railroad, not by the.
Correct. Yeah. In this case, I think if you build a 3-story,
Oh, right.
it'd be a different
Right,
scenario.
apartment building, not
Or
city.
160 apartments.
Right.
Well, I did pick one out, but it doesn't have a transfer. It's got a 0 in 2020. It's got, this is at 5534 Eva Loop South, which is in the community there. And it has got a current value, appraised value of $337,900. And this was the county auditor, the Franklin County auditor.
And that's over in that Dublin.
And that's in that community.
Is that Dublin
Dublin schools.
Dublin schools that?
Yeah. No,
Is
it's
that-
as a matter of fact, City of Dublin, Washington Township, Hilliard School District.
Oh.
Interesting.
So
Did you
must-
happen to get the students for the community, the student count?
I did not.
Okay. I know when we went through this before, one of the, Michelle, do you remember what the density, I have it in my.
I can pull it up.
It's not gonna be, it's
If
based
it's
on.
1 and 2 bedroom apartments or homes, not apartments,
Right.
homes. If it's 1 and 2 bedroom homes, yes, I agree with that.
Well, even 3. There's not much open space to play with, and there's so many. When older people want quiet, they want quiet. They don't want. You don't want. It's very hard to control kids, and there's not a lot of places to play here. I don't think.
Yeah, I agree with that.
No.
And I think that's why you added the pickleball versus
Yes.
a playground, right? Because you are gearing towards our empty nesters.
Correct.
versus-
And one of the residents asked us, can you put playground equipment, et cetera, in the backyard? And we said no. That was something else we added because they wanted to know, could you do sheds, playground, you know, like, and we said no. It's an empty nester type of community, and so we did increase the green space centrally to add the pickleball place and the gazebo, et cetera, as some more amenities there. But no, it is not being oriented to a family community.
And did you find it to be a quiet community?
I mean, I was there at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Yes, it was very quiet.
Pretty
It was like
quiet.
that.
Okay.
But that development didn't have sidewalks, whereas we have sidewalks. and
Yeah, we will have
walking path.
sidewalks.
I don't remember if there's walking path around it, but that's nice for anybody that needs to walk a dog or chat with the neighbor.
Yeah. And so for the traffic, the advantage of having like an empty nester community is the traffic, even if they won't count it for the purposes of this hearing, it decreases dramatically. Typically in an empty, it's like cutting like a third or something, correct?
What you would assume with regular counts that are derived by the ITE or IET is AM, PM peaks, as we've discussed in the past. And obviously, if you're going to work and you're going to school, your AM, PM peaks are going to be very high. And obviously, if you're an empty nester, more or less, it's going to be lower because you're not taking the kids to school and you're not
Right.
necessarily going to a job per se.
Yeah.
But the traffic study was done with the assumption that it would have.
Yes.
Yeah.
What's the mix of
Yeah.
2 to 3 bed? Is it just owner dependent? So if they buy the lot, they get to pick?
Yep.
Is that how that goes?
And then it's a house.
Okay.
From there on in, you're
It's
selling
pick your stuff.
So
Yeah.
they
Your
can
web.
pick and
Okay.
choose, like someone can choose lot 62, and then the next for one that can be built could be 67. Like it's not you're building them in a row.
No, I mean, I don't think they've quite set out what they want to do. I think, obviously, you want to make sure your market is there. So they're going to pre-sell units just to make sure that there is a market for it. And obviously, those folks are going to be able to pick what they want.
But there's got to be some standard on repetition.
And it's in the text,
Right.
as
That's what I
Robin
was- I think
pointed
that's
out.
what you read.
Even for aesthetics or for like for
Yeah, so you can't have 5 blue with brick.
just the front.
in
So
a
they could
row.
all be. Could they all be 3-bedroom units? Is that correct?
Yes,
In theory?
Correct. In theory, yes.
But the lots are so small. I just
2,800 square
You're
feet.
not-
I mean, the $500,000 market,
might as well buy
there's,
a nice house.
it's just not
instead.
realistic to expect,
No.
in my opinion.
So that is the advantage that, so the ones in Dublin or the Hilliard districts were around 350, so maybe more like 400 because they always value them low. So these might be on the lower end. So why do you think this is more conducive to this kind of multifamily versus single family?
Well, again,
Other than the other
if you're
reasons.
doing single family, we're going back to cutting the grass and, moving the snow, et
Market.
cetera. Well, that's right. It's a market-driven.
Do you think there's more of a need for that
Oh,
here
yeah.
also?
I'm beginning to think I'd like to live in a condominium, so I have to cut.
Well, and it's not that, the density is only a little bit over 50% more. I mean, it's somewhere in between multifamily and single family. And I am glad to see it in single family because I don't see how there's such thing as multifamily detached units. I mean, that's
Yeah.
kind of an oxymoron. That's why we took that out of the code when I was a trustee last, because it didn't make sense. So I was happy to see it in the single family.
I would be up here making the argument that it's multifamily, but we want single families, but we meet the 4 units to the acre. We're below it, but
Yeah, I think
don't-
it's a nice compromise in between, and the piece of property is not as. I mean, I know when I got here, I was kind of not in favor of the idea, but as much. I mean, I haven't made up my mind, but I feel like that piece of property is definitely different than this typical single family, and I don't know if there would really be a market. But what I do like is that it could bring in millions of dollars eventually for the school district.
Yeah.
While not bringing in kids. And I did an analysis on one of the Epcon developments a few years ago, and the difference was night and day. No school kids, so the rest of us don't have to pay for all the kids generated in single family, but also we would bring money in. So at these prices, we would bring substantial money. Plus, I think the trips per day would probably be cut in half to a fourth. I can't remember when I looked at that last, but empty nester types, even though they're more active than they used to be, there's definitely not the multiple, it's as many ins and outs. So at least it would also decrease traffic. And it sounds like they would not actually harm the property values of the neighboring homes.
I think it will at all.
It looks
and the
nice, the
path-
ones you saw.
Connecting
If
the
it's
paths.
comparable to what I just saw today, it was beautiful.
If the difference, in my opinion, here is that there's an Epcon community right down the road from this, just off the
Yeah.
intersection, and so when I look at that, I look at that as being comparable, if you will, and I know that didn't impact.
Does the Epcon community have deed restrictions for age?
No.
No.
Okay.
I think
I didn't think it did.
Age restricted, yeah, no.
But you've
But I
got a
guess
condo
it's
association too, so as far as like upkeep, that was a big concern about apartments too. You've got an association of investors that are going to make sure that the properties don't deteriorate in time, and that was a concern from the residents before too. So just overall, I think, Lisa, I couldn't agree more. It's a tough property, right? And what are you going to do with it? And I think the compromise, that meeting in the middle, where you have to have enough ROI to get something built there. Then you've got the train, the sports park, and this Evans Farm that's going to continue north. But I think it really blends into that corner that it's at between North Farms that's there and what you get at Evans Farm. I think it's similar. You have the tighter homes over there. You've got some of these same type units they're putting up now at the roundabout, and you have apartments. So overall, not a huge concern.
And we had a letter today, or no, it came in on Friday from Stritter Patnam.
Mhm.
Pat,
Putnam.
yeah, and he's on the HOA board, and he was in favor of it. And
That's who I spoke to.
yeah,
Do you have any other questions?
do not.
I think I might have some more, but I'm good for now if you want to open it up.
Yeah, I'm going to allow public comment now.
Please.
And then I'll give you
I'll
a
be
chance to
ready.
respond to that, okay? So if you come up to make comment, just state your name and address, please, for the record, and then you'll have 3 minutes. Any public comment? Okay.
Hi, my name is Harish, and I live in 5683 Dorrington Street, and I'm resident of North Farms, community, just opposite to this. My biggest concern is train tracks and Shannon Road, Louis Center Road, North Road is bottleneck, and hundreds of school buses using North Road. And then we are building 80 houses compared to originally it was zoned for 40 single family houses. And if you just compare this parcel with the last phase of Rockford, just adjacent to this, just below this graph, this map is a single family, around 20 units. Rockford last phase, they built single families, right? So we were expecting, like, when we bought this house 5-6 years before, no info about, it's all market driven, but I agree, but we were expecting 40 single family houses are going to come here. And just Rockford, just adjacent to this, they built 20
Right next to it.
right
yeah.
next to it, and they were able to sell it even in this market conditions, around 600K, right? So I don't see that this parcel is required to have 80 houses. We can, as a township and residents, we can use this parcel for a single family still. And second thing, about, my difference is only 40 houses versus 80 houses. Originally, we are approved for, zoned for 40, but now we are coming out 80. I strongly believe that this is not the parcel. 80 houses, we appreciate, we invite developers to build houses everywhere else. That's how we grow. But this parcel, especially, by looking at the considerations, all 3 schools, train track, and 23 is kind of swamp. Now North Road is kind of extended both sides onto the Shannon and then Lewis Center Road. So the traffic concerns, I know they said traffic study has been done, but did we know that even that traffic study included how many school bus rides happen on North Road? I wanted to see that. Right. Whether even that number, traffic study seems like, you should look at this time period, how many vehicles, how many traffic pattern, right? So I don't know. I need to see that. So that is one thing. Second thing, we have been saying that, builders have been saying that it is empty nesters. I strongly oppose that. I don't think next to the school district, all 3 schools, it's not going to be empty nesters for sure. And next to the train track, it's definitely whoever has 2 kids, I would buy this property here in this map, so that I can send my 2 kids to the school district and I can avail. So I strongly oppose that. It's not going to be empty nesters. I strongly believe that. And North Road is a bottleneck. When train comes, imagine both Shannon Road, both sides of the train track gets blocked. In the Lewis Center Road, it is coming traffic until 23 when train comes, right? So it's like, complete packed. Think about these. It's not only this community, right? Even existing neighborhood, we are struggling that. We are living from 6 years, so I know the traffic pattern very well, more than anybody. This room, I guess. So, and second thing, exit. This community has, I think, fire department needs 2 exits. One is the main entrance. Second one, you see the bottom of the screen. It is using North Farm subdivision, because Shannon Road side, I don't think it's approved, because they cannot do that because of the dimension of the road to the junction to the train track. So I was thinking earlier, if you see that, roundabout that we have on Lewis Center Road, we have the Cove rental property built by Evan Farms, I guess. So they have a exit and entrance on Lewis Center Road, even though it is very smaller division, right? Like from train track to roundabout, it is very small, but they do have exit and entrance. So I would suggest we should look at Shannon option. Even fire department agrees about that. Instead of using another subdivision, because 4th phase. Think about 4th phase. Let's say if I'm not from 4th phase of Rockford, but I still feel for them, because when they bought 2 years back houses, they never think that my next neighbor. We are not. I'm not negative about newcomers. I'm most welcome if township approves. But my only concern is, when I bought this, I was not aware of 80 houses in that parcel. So we do have a lot of land in township. So I believe builders would consider other parcels for their, so even if you think constructive method, so this parcel, I think it is mainly for, single family. So at least I'm sticking for 40 houses for this versus 80 houses. That's the only difference. Otherwise, this is a great plan. Thank you.
Welcome. The one thing I'd say about this that I know from the prior application is there were no single family developers that were interested in the parcel. They actually sent a letter to the township stating that. And I think you'll probably remember that Rockford
and multiple other builders. And so it's set there and unplatted, for that, like undeveloped for that reason. Something about this plot, they weren't interested in pursuing it. And now I think with the market, what you're seeing is single family home developers are stopping. They're drastically slowing down with the interest up. I look at that all the time, the number of builds per month and sales per month and that kind of thing. It's gone down quite a bit with the interest rates going up. So I don't know what happened here. I just know that we got the letters on it. At the time, I still didn't think, and I still don't think, that a multi-level apartment facility or condo facility is the right answer here. A lot of the traffic reasons and things that you mentioned. The only thing on this application that I would agree, we need to see a mix of, like, they only are going to offer so many 2 bedrooms and only so many 3 bedrooms. I don't know if that's realistic or, in the market or anything like that. But as far as traffic goes, and school bus traffic especially, what I did want to share with you is there's a plan underway to increase the traffic around the schools themselves to prohibit the need for them to go around. And instead, there's a road that will be developed in the school property itself that will travel from Shanahan to Lewis Center Road to allow school traffic to go to the school and out without going to North Road. So I do think in the next year to 18 months, you'll see a drastic reduction in bus traffic and school traffic on those roads. People will take Lewis Center or Shanahan directly there versus having to go down North Road. So that's gonna help tremendously with some of your traffic concerns as well. In addition to plans to widen Shanahan Road, which will make it more favorable. And as far as your neighborhood entrant and exit concerns, the engineer dictates that. That's not a developer dictated desire. So the reason Evans Farm put it there is because the engineer said they had to. It's not, if they went back and said, we want to put it there, it's no, it's where that's all part of the development design process. So, which is terrible at times because, just to your point, you want things there. We've seen it with gas stations and curb cuts on 23 where nobody can get one, and then all of a sudden someone pops up and they've got a curb cut, and it doesn't make sense to anyone but the developer and ODOT apparently. So that's out of the board's hands and largely out of the developer's hands too. Other than that, I understand your concern for sure. We pushed hard on the single family based on what you said and the expectation. There was just no market for it. They wouldn't build there. They sent letters confirming that. We still didn't think the apartments were the right answer though. And so that's why when I said prior that this is a great kind of middle ground to offer a single family approach that still has ROI and things like that to attract an investor, because there wasn't one prior. There wasn't one for single family.
When are those roads going to be improved? The improvements?
A year to 18 months. It's
So
it's part of the
then-
Schottenstein development that's going in. So if you pull the map up, if you want, Michelle.
I think that's a lot farther up.
No, it's when the Schottenstein development is being built. They have to put, that's part
The
of
rail
it.
timber?
It's rail timber, but there's a second road that the school is adding on the school property that doesn't currently exist to allow
An
north-south.
east-west road or a.
Where's this
What's the other one you're
information?
talking about?
What's that?
The rail timber section road goes north-south. Is
That's
the
correct.
other one also
There's
north-south road?
it's on the school property itself. It's a road improvement that they asked for. It's relocating an existing road that doesn't really work well for Shanahan Middle School particularly. So they're relocating that so that more people will be able to utilize it. And the rail timber road will go all the way from right now it cuts off at Kroger, like right after the Kroger. So that's going to be extended all the way to Shanahan too.
And when is that going to be done?
I would assume.
Rail timber will be in the works soon.
Yeah. So if
I just don't know the timeline on the Shanahan Road.
That's going to be years.
Shanahan Road widening will be long further out for sure.
And then
Four
But the
years
school-
at least.
If you go over to the school area, they're wanting to put So Real Timber will go up to the schools are reorganizing their roads. If you look to the west side of the school, where it kind of comes down and where the track is, they want to relocate that so that it's kind of swooping around from what I understand.
Oh, like behind, to the,
So there's
on the east
more
side?
like queue space and everything else so that the buses aren't stuck out. Because I guess right now the buses have to kind of wait. And it's really, even dropping my daughter off there,
This one,
it was a nightmare.
At,
the pink one.
Yep, there you go.
oh.
There's the mail print up for me on Summit. So right here, Real Timber Way. What they're wanting to do is move the roads. So Real Timber will cut up through here, and they're wanting to do this like right in through here, so that the schools have queue traffic. That came
What
from the
road
meeting.
is that?
It's the school property.
This one here?
Yep,
Oh, Shanahan.
yep.
Oh.
That's Shanahan, but that's the school property. So in other words, the school buses right now, when they come in to the high school and school traffic comes in, they get
Oh.
forced out one way here, so they have to go around and go through there.
Oh, so it's gonna,
It's going to change the traffic pattern so that the school buses, when they're coming up this way, they're coming up this way because they have to go over here and queue up. There's nowhere to queue up over here. They want to put the road there so that when they come up
Okay.
here, they can stop and.
that
turn
should
around.
alleviate some of
It's
that,
gonna
but we don't
alleviate
know
Not-
when that's gonna be done, but
Real Timber
probably
will
not.
be, Real
too
Timber
long.
and the school road
It
will
would be
be,
before this development.
yeah.
So
Real
next
Timber will
year or
be,
so.
and the
Okay.
school road will be. Shanahan will be further out.
Okay, and just keep in mind too that because it's near the railroad tracks or next to it, it's probably cheaper than some other properties in the township.
What's that?
It's less expensive, the property, the subject property is less expensive because it's near the railroad tracks.
Yeah, I had
And as
no
far as
clue.
development,
The
I'm
single
assuming-
family people would have developed it if they sent letters to the township
Yeah,
as
they
part of
could.
the other submission. They weren't interested for some reason. I don't know what the reason
I
is.
don't know if people would want to live there.
You probably recall that from the. You're welcome to come up, sir, if you'd like.
And Jack, just real quick, how many single-family houses could have been built on this?
40,
43.
It is 43,
And this one's
70.
79.
but I thought it went from 2 to 3.28. That's only 50% more. So, right? Okay, go ahead.
Hello. I'm John Oreskevich. You probably remember me from the last meeting here. Live in the shores, and I think it's beautiful. Beautiful buildings. Congratulations on the look. Really nicely done. When I moved in this township in '94, we used to have these signs that came when you walked into the township. You drove down Old State Road. It said, "Welcome to Orange Township. Zoning enforced." And what that said to me, that we had a township that respected its zoning code. It was a code put together since 1955 by people who spent hours upon hours of meeting and voting and tabulating to create this code that we have today. And I don't think that anybody had ever thought that we were going to get to a spot where our zoning applications are now more about divergences from a zoning code that is supposed to be the Constitution. This is our rules and our Constitution for the people of Orange Township. We don't do much anything else. We zone. Section 10.07 of the zoning code specifically states, even in the event of cluster homes, the density shall not exceed. It says shall not exceed. There's no other place in the zoning code it says that. The people who put that together very specifically took the time to put those words in the zoning code for SFR, single family plan residential districts. It says it. It's in the code. Granted, we can make a motion to strike that tonight and probably vote on it, and then we don't have to worry about it, but it says shall not exceed 2. And it doesn't say shall not exceed 2 with a divergence, or whatever board happens to be sitting in the trustees the year the application comes through. It says shall not exceed 2. And the rest of the applications is full of divergences too. Build the community. I love it. Build it according to the zoning. Get it down to the right density, meet the setback requirements, do what you gotta do, put these beautiful condominiums in there. I don't care about that. I'm caring about the disrespect for this zoning code. And every application I see come across my desk now is filled with the word divergence. Divergence, 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 divergence. It makes this code worthless. We might as well burn it at our tree lighting ceremony. If we're not going to follow it, and if we're not going to respect the people who have put this together since 1955, please respect the people that stepped in front of you. This land can be developed according to zoning. It can be. It should be. Or change the zoning. That's my comments.
Mr. Reynolds, I have to go back to that question about the 79 units. They're being built, but only 40 could be built if it was single family. So 43, okay. But that, so 43 to 79 is, yeah. But how's it going? It's almost double versus, but yet the density is going up from 2 to 3, which is like 50% more. You see where the
3.28.
yeah 3.2 is that?
There's the open space.
Do you see what I'm saying there?
Yeah,
I feel like I feel like I'm disconnecting.
It's more than 50%, yeah.
It's more,
100% would be 4.
Yeah, do you know what I mean? I would think that there would be more like 6. Yeah, or I would think if it was
What's the
going from,
density? Is it 3.28?
Yes.
Okay.
I just, it seems like they're building more proportionally, but I just noticed that I haven't had time to do the math.
I think, so to John's point, as far as our zoning code, I mean, as long as I've been with the township, it's almost every application does have divergences. It is kind of the inevitable. Unfortunately, our zoning code has not been updated in keeping up with market conditions and trends since the early 90s. So we did hire a consultant, and we are completely rewriting our zoning code. We started that last year, but we're not expecting a new code till probably first or second quarter of 2023. It's a pretty big undertaking when you're changing the law for 200 pages. So I think we have, as a township, understand that there is a need for a major change in our zoning resolution because we cannot satisfy this type of product in our current code. So just so that residents.
The only thing I'd like to say is that there is no perfect world, unfortunately. And you know, almost all these projects come through with some kind of divergences. And as I said opening, that if we went with the multifamily zoning classification, we'd be getting variances, divergences, because we're single family development. So we are stuck between a rock and a hard place because the township doesn't have a zoning classification that fits this type of product. So either, you know, we do A and get divergences, or we do B and get divergences. So, you know, it's unfortunate, but it's there, and you know, we're requesting those divergences, and we feel that they're appropriate given the location and the type of use.
Robin, as we're in the process of rewriting the code, is there going to be a section that would speak to a product like this?
Yes, I mean the goal would be to have a code that is flexible enough to allow for different types of product.
So it looks like, so if there were single family homes built versus multifamily, it looks like the it's 64% versus 83%. Is that making sense? Like if you take the it's supposed to be 2 units per acre, jumping to 3.28, and using the same ratio for the other density, it just seems a little bit more dense. Is there a reason the density seems like it increased
Well, if you do the math, it's 24 plus acres times 2. We could have had 48. They could have originally done this on
Okay, that's
as a
what-
48 unit
okay,
development.
That's what it is. Okay, they didn't max out. That's why I was confused. There was a
Yeah,
disconnect
they didn't max
there.
it out. So
Okay, so you could have had, so if you had 48, so if this is a single family development and each single family home is approximately 0.8 students generated times, what is it, 12,000 per year? So it could be almost $500,000 per year if this was built single family to code. $500,000 being paid
Cost
to educate students, yeah, which could be millions of dollars, over the years. If this is in fact going to be empty nester, if that's the way it works out. So you're talking, over 20 years. I mean, you're talking a substantial
You'd have to
money.
use the condominium number, which I think is 0.5. The point, or point,
No, apartments is 0.1.
For student ratio?
yeah.
Oh, yeah,
I
condos.
thought it was above.
It's 0.8, it used to be.
It's 0.8 for single family.
It used to be
Single family.
0.89 for apartments, but that was like 4 years ago when I was in.
No, it's 0.1 for apartments. 0.1 generated per apartment. 0.1 student. Yep, I'm 100% sure. So this could generate over like 20 years. It could be, using today's numbers, $9 million of education. So that falls on the rest of the people in the development, those costs. So every time a new single family development is built,
you're adding.
it does generate a substantial. So that's why our taxes keep going up, because we have all these single family developments. So, and if these were actually all built at, even 400,000, that would bring in a substantial amount of money to the township. That would help. That's a pretty good value. I do feel that being up against the railroad tracks, I feel like when the land use plan was done, they wanted to have single family homes, but I in this area, but I just don't see single family traditional people wanting to live on this particular property.
As Ben pointed out, there is no demand for single family, and so we're trying to, at least with what we're doing, is going to occupy the property and give some dependability as to what the property could be developed with. The land use plan talked about offices, et cetera, and at least we're giving our neighbors a known commodity, and we're going to be building a really nice product on the site.
So I'm looking at the school district report right now. For the 500,000 to 600,000, for 600,000 plus, which is what this would be if it were single family. So let's just say 500,000 plus. It's like it's over one student per dwelling. So it's 1.25 for single family homes, I think, is what this is.
What
Yep,
is
single
software
family.
for?
The Olentangy report.
Oh, is it just that?
This is actual research they did. Now let me.
Wait, I thought that there were more students generated by the less expensive homes. What is it for a $300,000 home?
Yeah, it's slightly more. It's like 1.32.
Per student, per house?
Yep, and then it's 1.08 when it goes to 550 plus.
When was this recent?
I think it was 2 years ago. 2020, December of 2020.
What's apartments?
I'm looking that up now.
Yeah, I was told by Mark Rafe just a year ago it was 0.8 and 0.1. What is this
It's
from?
just, it depends. That's because the age of the house. When you look at the old average, I'm talking new build.
Oh, new build.
It has it by year, age of home. So
Oh, what
they've
about
got actual homes in here.
What about empty nester though?
What was so I can look up. What is a neighborhood that has, that you mentioned? Well, it's not our school district. I was trying to think of one that has that we know has the,
So it could cost even more for the single
you're
family.
talking, you could say 60 students for the single family.
Okay, so that's even more. Where's the?
I'm trying to see
is
if
there a
there's an
multi-
EPCON type home in here that I could reference as far as, if anyone knew the name of one, but, because it's got every neighborhood and what they actually put into the school.
Is there none of the?
What's the
Epcons?
neighborhood behind the fire station? 361.
North Farms, or North Orange. I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, courtyards at Hidden Ravines would be one, or
What's it called?
courtyards at Hidden Ravines.
Okay. It's not even on here.
But
Courtyards at Clear Creek.
they do generate extremely few children. Is there any way to make this into restricted housing for seniors?
Here's condominiums.
That's a planned elderly retirement district, one of those.
Villas of Olentangy, detached condos, total resident
it's a-
units
It's a
59.
restriction.
Yeah, they can.
So you can do a 55 plus.
So they're like,
community.
so detached condominiums, what's the average here? 0.39 is the average. It goes from 0.05 to 0.73. So
So it
it's,
depends on probably where it's located and how many bedrooms. I think at the Epcon development near us, there's like 2 children. I think there's a substantial tax burden from a single
There you go.
family versus a multifamily, and plus the trips per day for empty nester condos is at least 25% of the standard single family. So that's the advantage of this is there's less traffic, less wear and tear, and more money for the school district.
what's the neighborhood called? Did you say Hidden Ravines?
Or Clear Creek is the one by the fire station.
Okay. Hidden Ravines is 0.01
.01 what?
students per dwelling.
Not 0.1, 0.01?
0.01.
See, there's literally usually 1 or 2 kids, and that's usually like a grandparent custody.
72, it's exactly the same. 72 dwellings with 0.01 per dwelling. Hidden Reserve, 0.08. Hidden Springs, 0.26.
These are developments that are not deeded.
Yeah, Hidden Reserve is 52 dwellings with 0.08, and that's the one that is over by
I'm sorry, what was it? What one?
Hidden Reserve. That's over by,
The library?
no, it's
I think that's
by Glen Oak. It's the one that's,
At the chiller?
yes, there you go.
Yeah,
Oh,
but
yeah.
those are attached.
Behind Gordon.
Are those attached?
No, this says,
Those are-
oh yeah, these are attached. Yeah.
Are there any?
there's a mix of it's.
But you said the one are detached,
The,
right?
the detached numbers are 0.05 to 0.73. The one that has 61 units is 0.05.
So substantially smaller
Right.
than single
Correct.
family. Okay, so that would kind of, as much as I usually don't like divergences, and I've turned
Courtyards at Hidden Ravines is 0.03.
wow.
91 detached condominiums, 0.03.
Wow.
The one with 68 has 0.03 as well.
And those, I don't think those are age-restricted communities, right? Correct?
No.
And I know that's a huge pain.
No,
to
I mean
do
they
the age.
say like age targeted, but there's no restrictions on age.
So that, as much as I don't like to grant divergences usually, and if this property was anywhere else, I would never even consider it, to be honest, but I feel like it's not the best location for single family, and the mitigation of, I think building single family there would drastically increase traffic and also the taxes for the rest of us, so.
This report, I'll send it to you all. It's pretty amazing. Got everything.
That's neat, yeah, send us like,
I don't know if there's any other public comment.
oh yeah, any more public comment? Oh, come on up.
Just for the sake of time, I'll.
Yeah.
I'm Surendra Thaluri, living at 5259 Loden Drive, Lewis Center. So my concern is again, still the number of units are very high. And also I want to ask you one fundamental question on why there is no so much hurry to approve this application first of all. Why can't we stick with a single zone? Because that is what this whole neighborhood advertised. That is where we bought the houses because of it. Now because someone already bought the property, knowingly that actually it is only for the single home, now they are portraying that yes, we are benefiting the community with all these things. But why can't we stick with a single zone and give a couple more years and see if any new development, because the space is going very low and the future demand may increase and someone interested to build the single home houses. So why we can't stick with it? Why we have to rush through approve this? That's my question. Thank you.
My name is Hemant Kumar Diwan. I live in 5593 Mercia Street, Lewis Center, Ohio. I have a couple of points here, right? So one is the divergence. So this is going to be sitting as a precedence for future divergence. For example, I wanted a third garage in my house, which I don't have now. Because of the limitation that I need to have 12.5 feet from my end of my unit to the lot, which I don't have it, I'm not applying for a divergence. So this is going to set a precedence for anyone to apply for a divergence, which I believe you cannot deny. Okay, the second thing is rezoning. So this is third time or fourth time the rezoning is application has happened with the different names. I don't know why. Even the county is encouraging, township is encouraging that because we denied twice, third time came up. Then even if you deny it now, future it is going to come up with some other alterations and present it, which is wasting everyone's time. So I don't know why. And
I'm sorry, you don't know why. What is, I'm sorry.
no, the
You don't
rezoning
know why what?
applications, multiple rezoning applications on the same property. This is the third or fourth application which has come for rezoning with the different flavors, right? So even if you deny this now, it's going to come up with the next year, we are going to see one more application with a different flavor, which again we need to come up with some kind of excuses to deny it. I don't know why even township is encouraging that. Yeah, it's everyone's freedom to do that, but I'm kind of, it's my humble opinion. The third thing is on the money generating. So the tax, property tax is based on the market value, not on the actual value sold. So we need to understand what is the market value if it's going to be a condominium, because I bought a house for 450K opposite the North Farms, and my property value is 450K even now. So with the 0.25 acres and 3,500 square feet built-in area. So with this 1,500 or 2,000 square feet, I don't know what the market value is going to be, and the tax will be based on that market value, not the actual selling value. Thank you.
Even though sometimes they do, when the property
They do.
originally sells, they usually set it at what it's sold for.
Yeah, that's right.
When it first is built. Now later on, things can change once it's resold, but thank you.
Hi, I'm Ravi Patlavat and I'm from 1455 Swanton Street. Just right below that, okay, like I'm the first one below that lot, okay, like we put the proposed site. I'm the first one, like, that's my first home, like it's just in my backyard. Definitely my concern is about like the number of units for sure. Okay, the reason being is because I bought this home in 2021. Okay. At that time, I think that was supposed to be like kind of like what Rockford told me is like this site currently is like kind of, and they may build the single family home as what I have right now, but looks like I think when I moved in, I saw like this is like something just changed, which is exactly in my backyard. First thing is like kind of, and I don't know like what the value is going to be of my home, because the sir said that okay, it's the value is definitely like kind of an on the market value. I don't like whether my market value goes up or if these condos come down, it comes there. If the home value goes down, either ways, I'm going to kind of pay the tax on the higher amount, right? Because though my home value may go down, okay, generally when I sell it, but I'm going to still pay the taxes on the market value, but that may not be the realistic value at that time. Okay, that is one concern. The other concern is definitely, again, with the number of people, number of units. I don't know, like we're talking about empty nesters all the time. But in realistic, okay, if you think about this whole Poland school district, people generally buy home by looking at the school district, as per my opinion. Okay. But okay, if someone has to like an empty nester who has to like come by here with no kids going to school, it's like, I mean, as per my view, it's just a fundamental thing, right? Why would someone come and buy the condo here, where you have train tracks, small condos, and you don't have kid going to school, and then you need to put about $350,000 to $500,000 there? I think it is something not looking really logical for me, at least. But I think these are some of the points what I have, and also like, as this is like exactly in my backyard, I really have some like security concerns with the number of units there, Okay, I have kids and I definitely want to kind of make this point out and comment it out. Thank you.
Those are good, very good points. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Mohan. I live in 5632 Coventry Court, just little south of Hebbing Lane. So one of my concerns is with the number of units here. Definitely 40 or something. We were thinking when I just bought this house 3 months ago, and that was the number I heard and I knew. Now that we have a 70 number of houses there. Sorry. Sorry about that. So with this difference in number, I'm a little worried with the number of vehicles would pass through near my house, and I have a 1-year-old now. In another 5 years or 4 years, she would start going school. So with that saying, we kept saying, or we've been known, told about empty nesters. In another 5 years, we don't know if they start renting out those apartments to somebody who have kids. How would that work out? And how are we gonna cover that, or what happens when that happens? So that's my main concern there. Thank you. And definitely others covered most of the points I wanted. Think so.
Good evening. Thank you so much for giving us the opportunity to come forward here and share our comments. Especially Lisa, Ben, and Lisa, other Lisa. It's a very good thing to put a face to the name. I haven't seen you since. I see your name board showing up on the streets. I was wondered. So now I got the opportunity to personally meet all of you. Thank you so much. I think we are in a situation. This is my personal comment. I could be very well wrong, but you can correct it. I think the existing North Farm residents are shooting themselves in the foot. Because I'll tell you the reasons here. I moved into this community in 2016. When I bought the community, when I bought the home, Rockford Homes told us that, hey, there's going to be 40 homes coming up on the other side of the North Road. I felt it's going to be beautiful out there. But I think we are going back, we are completely reversing the way. How come 80 homes would be more beautiful than 40 homes? I don't understand. If you build 40 homes, you will have more space and a lot of space for kids to play. Of course, there's a monetary numbers here, but somebody told in terms of beautification, I don't think so. 80 homes will be more beautiful than 40 homes. That's point number one. Point number two. If I am a resident of somewhere in Reynolds Park or something, if my kids are willing to go to high school or middle school, we all agree here as a Orange Township, Wallantangi High School, Wallantangi Middle, Shanahan are the best in this neighborhood. The best. Rather, they are competing with the Dublin schools. So if I am outside of this locality, I would rather prefer to come to this community with 2 kids and settle in that new neighborhood. Okay, there could be so many people who wanted to do that. So are we increasing the count of the people? We are increasing the count of the kids who are coming into this new layout. Our schools are not good, so less people will come into the community? Apparently not. We are the best. I especially like Shanahan, Heritage, and Wallantangi High School. Best. So we are giving the opportunity to let more people come into this. Eventually, the number of buses floating on the road will be more. And also, we all know that North Road is getting extended all the way up to some other middle school or elementary school coming over there. So obviously, there's so many people wanted to use the North Road. And also, when Jennings Sports Park is fully operational, you need to see how many people wanted to use that, especially people coming from all the way up to Louis Center area or all the way from South Old Polaris. They will definitely come over there. The best route for them to come over is North Road. Point number 3. Next big thing I want to tell you is North Road Park. I'm sorry, can I?
Yes.
One more minute. There's a big park recently came, North Road Park. Beautiful. We are so happy that there is a cricket pitch also there. So obviously there will be so many facilities will be increasing there. A lot of people would be using the North Road and they use the North Road Park. So we are increasing the traffic. If you happen to be Of course, because I feel that we are working on some assumptions here. We haven't seen the real traffic since 2 years because people are staying at home. If you happen to be operational or everybody is going to the offices down the line after 6 months, you have to see how the traffic around 5:30 in the evening or around 7:30 in the morning. So we are taking decisions based on some of the assumptions. I think that's not right. That's what I strongly feel. Thank you. Thank you giving me this opportunity.
My name is Sandeep Reddy Lakreddy, and I live in 1367 Swanton Street. It is just next to the North Road. My house is just next to the road. I was the last person who used to buy in that community in the first phase. I had an option of buying in the fourth phase of the North Road, which these guys are there right now. I see that within 1 year I did not even, I just moved to Ohio since last 2 years from California, so it was very beautiful here. I'm happy that I made a decision to buy a house. But the thing is, I was amazed that somehow I went with the first phase, but I thought that okay, since it is closer to a track, it might be little. If it is, everyone thinks that it should be a little far to stay than closer to the track, right? So that's the same opinion I was in. I bought in the first phase. So, but I did not expect that within 1 year, the fourth phase would be completely full. So I saw your comment that people are not interested to do any single families. That's what your comment, right? So that made me think that next to that track, even farms has been growing up. That when I was buying the house in North Farms, I had an opportunity to buy there also, but it was not even like 10-15 houses are there hardly at that time. Now, if you see the Evan farms, it's all $1 million houses or more than that, and it extended like 3-4 phases has been built, and you see the park has gray, and you see a lot of construction is coming even towards the temple area and down it went till Cheshire. So I don't think that is true that single families are not interested to do their construction in this area, because the demand is growing up. If you put any sale in our community, it will just go like a hotcake, even for the single family. So I definitely think have a concern on the 80 than going with the 40, because 40 looks more cleaner, beautiful than 80. And when I came, the traffic was very less. Now I'm feeling like I don't know what gonna happen, like, because if you want to go towards 23, it's very crowded. If I want to start from here and go to the exit also, it takes a lot of time. Even the Shanahan road is also very small, that if you go towards the night, I have to come in the middle of the road instead of going in my lane. It is that narrow. The North Road has grown up. It takes a lot of time. A lot of people are driving towards from US 23 towards this road. So traffic increase like anything. And because of the ground also now, I think it will go increase a lot. I don't see, the one thing I can say is like traffic studies will say something now, but when it comes to practical, lot of things will change. You cannot do anything at that time. You can say sorry and you can say what are the better alternate options, but you cannot come back and okay, the traffic study gave you this report and now you constructed out this. Like, you cannot come back and tell them you have to go back to 40, right? It's always you'll be seeing the better option afterwards, right? What can be done in this current situation. So I think we have to revisit the traffic study also, thinking practically more, and keeping that and one more thing, when it comes to divergence thing, right? Like, I don't have kids right now, so I felt like Valentine is the best school district, so that's why I moved in, right? Tomorrow I have kids, and I saw the school buses coming. I felt okay, this is closer by my house. I have facility of bus. Now all of a sudden they removed the bus facility also. Since they removed it, I'm also equally paying the taxes. If even the with buses and without buses, I'm not paying less taxes, right? I can still say, okay, why I'm also paying the same taxes? Why should you not provide me a bus facility? If you're not providing bus facility, why should I pay for that? I can also bring that point also, right? A lot of things will come when you think about divergence, a lot of things will come into picture in future also, right? Everyone has their own needs. Like Hemant said, he has the need of third car garage, but it is not possible because at this moment, now he's not able to do anything, right? He can put with the opinion, he can also take his neighbor's permission. If they both mutually agree, because the code doesn't agree, he cannot do anything because he's giving the respect to that. And the person, he also mentioned that we have to give the value to the people who drafted the township rules and all, right? So with that comment, I'm not liking the idea of 80 versus 40.
I just want to clarify, 48 could be built and there are 79 being requested.
48 and 79. So
Yeah, so 31 more.
I strongly believe that clients are not interested to build a single family. I sincerely wanted to see that because now that comment scares me because I feel like in the opposite way. There's a lot of houses are being built in the community in the North Farms. It even went to Shesha, it went towards outlet malls. A lot of communities are going. And the next community is also single family.
it's the specific lot that I was referencing. So the people that wrote letters were the developers that have to build those. So if people are interested in them, that's fine. There's no supply.
But why do you think Even Farms is having that much popularity, and a lot of builders are coming, like they wanted a chance to be in part of the Even Farms also.
Yeah, they didn't buy that though. It was for sale. They could have bought that land and developed it into single family homes if they wanted it, but they didn't. So the people that Rockford Homes isn't interested in building single family homes there, or they would have.
They don't have an option to build there because it's already, I mean, a lot of developers.
They did. They did have an option to build there. It was phased as part of their development. They decided not to. They made a conscious decision not to. They sent a letter to the board saying they weren't going to.
You were talking about Even Farms?
Evans Farms never bought the land. They could have bought it when it was for sale as well.
No, I'm just giving an example saying that it's not, Rockford is not only the builder, right?
Yeah.
So, because there are a lot of builders out there to come and build in a lot of different communities. The market is, what I'm saying is, there's always a boom in this area. And because of...
None of them purchased the property is what I'm saying. They had an opportunity to. They expressed no interest in purchasing that property. And it wasn't just Rockford that sent us a letter. There were other, I think, MI and what was
really?
Yeah.
Really?
They had
the problem is sometimes you have prime property and then you have other properties that are not as prime. And I feel like this is, you
Not
find
prime.
out the hard way that if this could have been developed, it probably would have. And property owners do have rights to develop their property. And if someone continuously asks for a little bit of a lesser use and we don't grant it, it could cause problems. There has to be some kind of compromise. That I don't think this is developable at 2 units per acre, but it is 50% more is what they're, or a little bit over 50%. Yeah.
Yeah, say 40 versus 80 is right, 50%. Like 79.
Yeah, it's a little
48 would have, 50% would, yeah.
It's about, it's a tiny bit more than 50%. Yeah. Yes, 31 more. Yeah.
Joseph Abraham, 1190 Linux code. I also have the same concern like everybody said, the number of houses, units there is too high, it is too high. If you made, everybody said about the market study about the traffic pattern, I don't believe it because right now the North Road traffic is too much. If you see mornings in the morning and there is no speed limit as because of everybody said because of the problem on the Shanahan Road, people cannot drive and get, if you want to turn left or right, it is very difficult and everybody choose North Road and they zoom through that road in the morning and there is not enough one more lane that I can easily turn and there is no signal unless something is being done. We cannot agree to that 80 more units being approved there because anyway each house at least even 79 cars can go through there, and as Jennings Parks and everything comes in, it's going to be a bigger problem. And you said the other exit to this one is right coming across Dorrington Street, which is coming to the main entry of the North Palms, and they are all going to come through that because they cannot turn there also. So it's always going to increase the number of cars coming over there and prone to a lot of accidents. Even last week, one guy was riding so fast, they were about to hit me, and they're not giving me a chance to turn even there. And the same problem, even from our community to turn into Shanahan Road, it's so narrow. There is no room to even turn, and the cars are zooming through there too. So unless something is being done, the number of houses are too high. And the other thing is that I want to say that, everybody said that, when we bought the property there, they said that Rockford is going to build the fourth zone or fifth part of their house there. They lied to us. I don't know why they all lied to us. And now, if this railroad and this road was not built right now, it was there when they bought this property, and whoever bought this property knew this problem was there. Why they are in a hurry to, I am asking Orange County, why are they in a hurry to give this kind of agreement to rezone it to this multi-type homes and bring in more problem to the community? We strongly disagree, and everybody over here are here to disagree with that. If not, you look at the, if you can put a restriction of 55 above for the residents, and minimum half of them has to be 3-bedroom houses, we cannot agree to it. Look at here, everybody are under 50. None of them are here above 50 here. Why everybody moved in here? Because of the good school district, as everybody said, and that's the only reason. And even if you give it to anybody, they all will be at least 2 or 3 kids, or 1 kid or 2 kids. That's going to increase load on the everybody paying the property taxes. We don't want to do that. And every time they ask on the tax, we need a levy to increase the tax. Why? Control these things properly. That's what I have to say.
Now, I would like to say that the trips per day for active family neighborhoods, like for single family, is as many as 20 trips a day. And for senior housing, it's can be as low as 3 trips per day.
But it is not considered as senior housing. Is it approved as
It is not zoned as that, but
yes, do that.
But traditionally, this style of home, including, what's the one that's off of?
There were, I think I already closed it, but there were 8 or so detached condominiums in the same school community that we're talking about, and none of them had over 1 student per dwelling.
Yeah, or 1 student.
There was like 0.05 to 0.4.
But probably just, so typically, and I've been involved in zoning since 1998, a very long time. And sometimes developers would come in and say, oh, there's going to be no kids here, or 1 or 2 kids. And they've been, even though this is not, like EPCON is not age restricted, but they truly do bring in 1 or 2 kids.
It's the style of the neighborhood.
You can't have playgrounds. And
I don't agree with the traffic studies largely either. It's a generic study that they use.
It is generic, but single family, you got
The school stuff I do agree with, and the reason I agree with their metrics that they publish is because it's our school district. It's not some other district,
but
right?
If you've ever driven by a senior housing, I live right near one, and there's literally no one driving in or out. I mean, they stay home, they walk their dogs, they get together, and once in a while they walk. They legitimately, if this does not attract single family, they just don't want to live here. And even if half of it was senior, these seniors,
then
no one wants to be with.
The other part of the property is being sold already to single families.
I'm sorry, what?
The other part of the property, which is adjacent to this property, the North Farms, they are single family. It's being sold, right?
These are. Yeah,
Yeah.
They are proposed as single family, but it's their market, their targeted market, which is not like the normal single family, like where we live, where you've got a big yard and you've got a place for kids to run around and scream. If you've ever been I'm 52 now, so I'm getting up there, but if you've ever been to time for me to retire, I'll buy one of these. No, just kidding. But a lot of times what you see is that the people, you don't want little kids running around, and it's just not a place that you would want to actually come. They would look at this and go, especially if they're going to be 400,000 or 500,000. You can just buy a house in like your neighborhood. Now it's possible they're going to be priced. I would guess honestly more like maybe 400, 450. However, someone can go with kids can go to your neighborhood, buy a nice house, put up an appropriate swing set or whatever. They would not want to move here. Now there is
no slots there unless somebody sell the house.
Now, there is one thing, is someone did mention, why do you want to move here for all intended schools? And I did recall that there are a lot of people who move out of their current houses and they want to downsize and they want their yards and things taken care of and they want to be near their grandkids. And that was a big thing we heard about people not wanting
That's why
to.
EPCON filled up immediately.
Yeah, you want to be near your grandkids, maybe not too near,
Then
but
put the
within
age
a few
restriction on
miles.
The neighborhoods,
Yeah, and that's why, and I can't believe people are paying.
Little Bear,
Yeah.
there's something just like this set up there. And the houses sell quickly there.
Yeah, and it's quiet, and sometimes the grandkids come, but you literally, I know it sounds crazy because
No
these
kids.
are single family, but also they're going to be paying probably $200 or $300 a month in condo owners' fees, if not more, to have it all maintained. So that's something that this generation really wants. They want it to be maintained. They don't usually make a lot of noise. This to me does look very much like it will be empty nester. I mean, I would like the density. Yeah, it's like, okay, and since we have the 8 or 9 examples he cited there built, including across from Olentangy High School, they legit have 1 or 2, if not 1 kid. And it sounds like that would attract single family, but at this price point, maybe if they were 200,000, 300,000, might bring single family in. But it's not. If you've had kids, I have 3 boys. There's just nowhere to play. There's nowhere to be loud.
That's pure economics right now, because you cannot find anywhere a single family 250K houses. The standard price, the 250K, which was 10 years before, is the 450, 500K.
Yeah.
So everybody knows that, and I don't buy with that argument at all.
Yeah.
That's
Thank
all.
you very much.
Good evening. I'm Swaroop. I live in 1434 Swanton Street, Louis Center. I know that the developer is very respectful to his new neighbors, and Orange Township members are very considerate. I want to request a third entrance for this new community because if you see the south entrance, it's gonna bring in a lot of traffic to our homes, and there are little kids running around the lawn and front yard. So it's a big concern for like a traffic accident or something like that. So keeping kids in mind, I want to request a third road. Even if it's like 20 homes or 40 homes or 60 homes, there is no harm in having an extra road. So I would request developer to add that. And currently, regarding the traffic study, I'm not sure how accurate it is. So we have to predict, we have to keep in mind Jennings Park, North Park, the new rental community by Evans, and mainly the train which passes by at least 15 to 20 times a day. So there is a closure, and roads and the cars are backed up all the way, at least till North Road, and I see sometimes till half the way till the school. So we have to keep in consider. We have to consider all those, and this would probably two cars per home would probably bring around 160 cars in our next to our homes. So I would I would request to put one more road there. Thank you.
What do you mean by one more road? I'm
One
sorry.
more
Entrance, exit, but that, as I said earlier, that's something that's externally dictated.
The county engineer
Yeah,
tells
if
them
the
where
developer wanted to put more roads or change that layout, he wouldn't be able to.
Then I would suggest to go down on the number of homes, and also I don't see why the engineer is not ready to put a road on Shannon Road, like an entrance on the Shannon Road, because I drove along the train track, the whole of Louis Center. I see like public and private roads at least 10 to 20 feet away from the rail track. So I don't know why engineer is opposing it.
The statute with that lies with the engineer's office, so it's not something we control. Even if we requested it, it would be dictated by them.
Then we can put an extra road on North Road. There can be 2 entrances on North Road for these Aurora farms.
I don't know why why did they not put 2 on North Road?
Too close to the intersection, and there was already an
Oh.
existing curb cut that was going to serve the 43 youths. So, I mean, the road was there. The road is there.
Okay.
Yeah, they can use our road. I'm not opposing it. It's just a request to put in a third road. I think they're very considerate. Let's see what they do. Thank you.
Looking at the map, the distance from North Road to the tracks along Shanahan is a shorter distance than the distance from the tracks to North Road along Lewis Center, just so that may have been a factor. Longer distance.
On the,
You got the village there too.
North Road is a north-south road. The tracks go at an angle. Yeah, the tracks are like,
Yeah.
it's just shorter.
they have their formulas.
Which is also
there.
why the yards are bigger on the southern portion of that, and where Rockford did elect to build. So as I said before, that the builders and the investors that had the property are the ones that chose not to develop the property as single family, even though that's what they communicated to you all when you purchased your property. So it's not, it's if they built it, they couldn't sell it or whatever. They decided not to. It's not in my control or your control or anyone but theirs. And so this property has sat and kind of shuffled around to a point made. This is now the third plan. And if there was going to be, Rockford would have just built them if they were going to sell these. So for some reason they didn't. That's a question for them. I just know they confirmed to us they weren't planning to. They had no interest in it. I can't speak to why Evans didn't purchase the property. I don't know.
Evans did. I'm looking at the transfer history. So it was Evans in 1990. It was Evans Capital Investments in 2004. In 2013, it was North Farms Development LLC. Then 16 again, North Farms, and then
The Evans family owned everything there.
Yes.
They owned all of it. And so,
originally,
yes.
yeah, you're right.
So when North Farms bought it, that's what I'm referring to. They didn't develop it.
Right.
So then it went up for sale. And so 2006, you said? Or 13?
13 was North Farms.
Okay, which makes sense because that's when they started building most of the residents here and the other folks there. But the market, even when it was on fire, they didn't develop that and sell those lots for some reason, which I can't speak to, I have no knowledge of. But it didn't happen is the point. And it still hasn't happened. And the only applications we've seen for this property are for multifamily and for a specific targeted client base that's not single family homes. So they're the ones that determine that, and whatever logic goes into their investment decisions. So I don't know why. If I could dictate roads, I would, because I don't agree with the engineers every time. But they're the ones that went and got degrees and studied it and were given statutory authority to determine roads and curb cuts. As far as schools, just reiterating, the numbers we have are for actual developments in the school district and in proximity to your own neighborhoods now. So that's the only numbers that we really get that I have any faith in. I don't agree with the traffic studies at all because they're national, they're based on industry averages. I do agree with the school numbers. I do agree with when they build it, they will come type of saying, and the development style will dictate the client base that comes in it and supply and demand. So when we look at our township as a whole, these properties are pretty consistent. In the school district as a whole, they're very consistent as far as what they do to our tax base. It's a positive for our taxes for those that have invested in the schools when we have people come in and pay more without any draw. That goes for the number of trips that the neighborhoods generate as well. It's a favorable trade-off. So that's what we're talking about with the numbers. I do agree we have major infrastructure challenges in the township right now. I'm working with the other board members, the school district, and a few developers to come up with resources and funding so we can aggressively go after that. And we're working on that faster than we have the ability to build right now. So Too Tall Silas in the back can attest to how hard I've been pressing to try and get our infrastructure developed. We have overpass plans to get over the train tracks so there's not stop traffic. That will be dumping into Lewis Center soon. Well, should have been soon. I think they delayed that another 3 years. Once that's done, you'll have an overpass at Lewis Center that will pull traffic from even going down over the train tracks at Lewis Center Road. That'll have a very positive impact in what you're experiencing today. I think with the extension of rail timber and the redevelopment of the school parking lot and driveway access way, that's going to improve traffic flow dramatically on North Road as well. So that's my personal response to the concerns. I understand what you were told and why you're upset, but I think that's a problem that is best handled with Rockford Homes. They sold you on something that they weren't planning to deliver clearly, or they would have already built those homes. And for whatever reason that changed, and I don't know. But they have the ability to do that as the property owner and the investor that had that property. So it's, again, something I can't control or you. It's unfortunate that it happened, and perhaps the folks that told you that didn't have vision or understanding of their long-term plan. I don't think it was egregious intentionally. Lisa or Trustee Fowles, any questions, comments?
Did the applicant want to?
Yeah, I'm going to let them respond. I didn't know if you had any. Sir, do you want to come back up? Sure. Just a quick question, please.
Did the Arden Township approach any of the other builders by providing some kind of subsidies and discounts to build the same? Because the residents, the existing residents are not willing to go for it. Did Arden try that?
We wouldn't have the ability to offer that. That's something that the county would potentially be able to work with them on, but not as a township. We wouldn't have.
For what?
He's talking about building subsidies and like tax incentives, tax breaks.
Okay, yeah, that's from the county.
Yeah, so
Good question.
that is a good question. Go ahead, sir.
Just to kind of wrap up, we've been talking about a lot of things that we as developers don't have kind of control over, and obviously traffic is one of them. When we do a traffic study, they look at the corners where we ingress and egress and the intersection to the north of us at North and Shanahan. We're not out there trying to understand the traffic that's generated within Orange Township, because the courts have decided that you all as legislators can't hold us accountable for traffic issues that are generated by the entire community. We're a small component. We're asked to make contributions to infrastructure that we impact, and that would be the intersection of our curb cut and North, as well as Shanahan and North. And we went through that study, and there were no improvements that were required under our development standards. Second thing is, we keep talking about divergences within the community itself. Reason why we're asking for divergences is because it's not a platted single-family subdivision. It's one lot. The units are set in the middle of a one lot. If you would like to look at the drives, we still set over 20 feet back from the private drive. We still have rear yards that are 60 feet in depth. We still have the separation between the units, which is 12, which could be measured, and we're asking for that variance. But, I mean, in terms of the divergences, it's because it's not a platted subdivision. So that there are setbacks, there are areas that if you were to make this a single-family lot, we meet. We think this is a good use of the property. I think it was great that you all pointed out that for the same amount of money, you could go buy a single-family lot, get a big lot, get green space. You're not going to be paying condominium fees. You're not going to have very small houses with cramming a lot of people into a fairly small area, more or less. But you could get that with the North subdivision directly across the street. We put a lot of thought into this. We've listened to the boards previously. We think we've got a really good development for you all this evening, and we'd like to build it. And once again, we're here. We can answer questions, but I think it will be a benefit to the community. And as you've seen in the past, empty nesters do end up being empty nesters.
And I just want to say that I do appreciate the fact that you guys had a meeting this summer and invited the community here. And like you said, there was four residents.
Summer's not always a good time to meet with people. So everyone's on vacation.
They had multiple public zoning hearings as well.
Yeah, but July 7th is right after the holiday. It's my son's near my son's birthday. No one's ever in town, so.
I mean, the only thing I would say is that, Robin being the good administrator, not just the immediate residents that's required under code, he sent it to everybody in the subdivision for the 2 previous meetings. So, in terms of having a planning commission with 4 people and then with about 12 people, I don't know what we've done to aggravate people here this evening, but obviously we've done that. But I think that between what we've started with and where we are this evening, we've done a pretty good job of trying to answer questions.
When were the zoning hearings? When was the last 2?
One was in October.
Okay.
October the 19th.
The zoning, but he said 12 people came, right?
Yeah.
Did 12 people come? I mean, there's like 3 times that.
Yeah.
But this is the final decision. If I were a person, I would probably attend
Public
this
comments
meeting.
closed.
Yeah, we had
Did we
one
close
meeting August 23rd
We did.
and then August 19th.
So I do have to throw one more monkey wrench in here. So I'm, there's an area just south of this property. It looks like it's part of North Farms, right? It's on the east side of the road.
It's the 3rd phase, I think.
The third phase. So I do see there's a lot of empty lots here, but I do see that some of these single family houses have been selling for like the 481,000 like a year ago. I didn't get a chance to look at all of them here, but it does look like there are some empty lots, but it does look like some single family houses are being, let's see, the 451, one sold in March of 2021. So there are some, do you know that area that there's a report? And those obviously must comply with the zoning. So I hate to throw a big monkey wrench and everything, but there are single family houses they're selling right there.
Well, I think the point being is that you have to look at, like Rockford may have already made the investment in the properties in terms of putting in the infrastructure and the roads and the water line and the gas line. And so now they're kind of stuck with developing it. This 24 acres, nobody has put a road in or sewers in or anything. So they
Which I didn't understand why. It did, when they sent that letter, it didn't make sense because typically they do that, all of the utility and everything all at once, one big swoop. But it didn't make sense to me why they wouldn't have done it there. Like that's what made me wonder what was going on all along with that.
I think that this was the last pig and poke, and they simply said, we
Public
put the
comments
roadway
closed.
in there, we're not doing anything north. So, I mean, it's bad, good money after bad.
It's interesting.
Oh. And some of those properties are owned by Rockford.
Yeah.
Still, right?
Yeah.
As in, that means they're not sold.
They're not sold.
Correct.
I mean,
They are, it looks like they're selling, so I didn't have time to go through all of them.
But it's interesting when you look at the housing demand and there's still vacant properties there. That's why I was saying something was going on where they made that decision because they weren't selling. I don't think they were selling at the pace or something that the others were.
And they do seem, are they low, how much do the houses sell for in the other phases of North Road? More, like
Yeah.
550 or, so these
That may have
are,
been what it was.
these are a steal, I guess, if you want to live right next to the railroad track. Is there any way to reduce the density and take a few units out? Because this is extremely dense. If I was living in the southern part or even across the street, it's extremely dense.
Well, we were at 85 and we're down to 79, and we had a lot of internal discussions when we took out the duplexes to make it a viable development. So we went back and forth, and there was even going down to 78 made it less attractive in terms of developing it. So again, our desire is, we've whittled it down. We got rid of the duplexes. That was an opportunity to offer a kind of a little different price point because I might have been able to sell the duplexes at a slightly lower cost, but obviously we were told that wouldn't be appropriate.
I would never approve a duplex ever, just for future reference, ever.
We found that.
You got 3 years that
Yes.
you can't submit any duplexes. That is just, it is pretty dense. I wish that I see that this is an existing pond. I kind of wish it was out
Yeah.
in
different
front.
spot.
Yeah, I think that's
Like
the
a
exist.
buffer between the two.
Yeah,
That's-
it just seems like
serves the property to the east.
Does it?
Yeah. It was built because it serves the subdivision to the east of us. It comes under north
Oh.
and into that pond.
That
Oh,
near
that's
Jennings
right.
Park.
Yeah.
It's got the pipe or whatever. Yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Fine.
No wonder it's existing.
And ours too. We have to make it fit for us as well.
How much is, there's no mounds in front, correct?
Oh, there are mounds in
There are
front.
mounds. Are there, well, how tall?
The whole thing is mounded.
How tall are they?
Like what,
Are
like
they,
5 to 7?
are they that tall?
Which sheet are we looking at, Todd?
Good question. I think I should be ready for the only question I want to get for you. Yeah, should be on the illustrative plan where we typically put all of these 4 to 7 foot. So we vary 4 to 7.
Tall?
6 to 8 feet at the north end.
Yeah, so they
4
do
to
vary.
7 at the
They do vary in height, but we're saying 4 to 7 along North Road.
What about on the south? How tall are they?
Along the south, it's a good question because it's all underneath the label. Now, I know that we have a 30-foot building setback, and then we have our 6-foot. We have a 30-foot building setback, and then the 6-foot side yard from that. So we're 36 feet back on the south there. I don't think we've shown any mounding, but I don't think that's something that we could not.
Could you add mounding where there's,
on the south side.
Yeah, I think we should be able to do that, barring any silly engineering thing. But, I mean, if we look at that now, if this was originally proposed, we would only have a 12.5-foot setback to the house that was there. So we're giving them 36 feet, whereas they would have had 12.5 before.
What about unit 25? What's the distance between the side of that to the southern?
That's what I was talking about, 36 feet.
Okay.
Now, if it was going to be the single family, it would have been 12.5.
Right.
as a side.
Understood. Yeah. And I actually had questions about that. I called Evans Farm because I saw them building, but the corners were like touching. And you know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
And they said that's the way.
Evans Farm?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
It was
Yeah.
nuts. It was the way they were platted, just to your point,
Yeah.
because
Yeah,
they
that
were
can
single
happen,
family.
yes. So so you will commit to a mound that's comparable to the mound on the existing one on the
Yeah,
west?
we're saying it's a 30-foot setback, so if you divide that by 2, it's 15. We'd probably be able to do like a 3-foot mound in there safely. Or we can say 3 to 4 and then because we're already showing evergreens on top of it too.
Yeah.
So that gives the evergreens which
A
are
good
going
height.
6 feet, so they're going to be 9 feet tall.
Already, right off the jump.
So that would be on the,
Start to put a 6-footer in there
On
one.
top of that 3, yeah.
So we'll say for an amendment, there would be mounding on the southern property line.
except for where the pond, there's no vegetation shown around the pond. I assume that's because,
You can't.
yeah, or because that would be more visually pleasing to look at a pond.
Pond's in the middle of the mill.
Right.
Nope, there's one to the south.
Oh, here, this
There
one
were
here.
going to be houses there to begin with. That
Oh,
were
there.
over a pond.
Yeah,
Yeah.
wait, what? I'm
There were
sorry.
going to be houses previously under the single-family proposal that would have been looking over the pond, which is a nice
Yeah.
feature. And I don't think that, screening these people from that pond.
Yeah, I think, so
So
where,
like units 1 through 4, you're not gonna put anything.
yeah, so anything other than 1 through 4, if you could put
So 5, 6, and 25.
a minimum of 3 feet and preferably 4 feet, or can you do 4
We'll try to
feet?
get it as tall as we can.
We can say a minimum of 3 feet mounding on the southern side, or the south side of the property.
Yeah, except for,
You don't want to block the pond.
yeah, not lots 1 through 4, because the pond is there and they probably want to see the
Yeah,
pond.
hopefully there's no flood routing that's required to.
I don't,
Right there. That pond
Oh,
is
this
the
pond.
southeast
Okay.
corner.
Yeah,
So they'll mound it all the way to there, to that corner.
Yeah, where the landscaping is currently shown, and that will help,
Mound the
buffer.
southern landscaping.
Yeah.
Existing southern landscaping.
That-
Okay.
That's certainly.
Yeah, and that will help buffer some of those roads. I'm just trying, I mean, is there any way to take a few more of these units out? It's just very, very dense and,
Where would you take it? I mean, if you have to you'd have to replat the whole thing.
no,
To redraw the whole thing.
we have to redraw the whole thing, but Todd's an
Well,
expert at that.
Unfortunately,
Well,
we,
can take them all out.
Take them on. Todd knows
That's
how
not
to
a
do it.
question for Todd.
no, we had numerous Zoom meetings, and I think they were begging Todd, that's it. we can't take any more out.
The
just-
ROI thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
I know, but that's not
Yeah,
always
I
our
understand.
problem.
I mean, it's consistent with the.
It's just, I wish it was 3 units per acre and not 3.28, because
Yeah.
that's 50%
What about
more.
Epcot?
Yeah, what is, oh, you mean the one, across from the Olentangy High School? Is that Epcon?
But
It's
what,
there by the library too.
there's, yeah, what Epcon would you like me to look at?
Just the one by Lewis Center Road.
Yeah, it's off of Olentangy River, or I'm sorry, across from Olentangy High School, is that right?
On the south side of Lewis Centerman?
Yeah, that's a recent one. I think it's probably a little bit less
It's gonna be-
dense than this, you don't think?
I couldn't hear. It's gonna be real close.
I can't remember. That's from the old days.
Pretty tight.
I feel like it's,
The density was 2.36, but that's, and the one on Lewis Center Road has a significant ravine.
2.36.
That's a significant increase in the whole lot.
2.36.
Yeah, I mean.
2.36?
Yes, but that, I mean, they
Yeah, half
have,
the
they have
property
open
was a
space as their
ravine.
advantage.
Oh, that's okay. What about the one where there's not a giant ravine?
So like, let me, I can
What,
pull
what
up
did we do on,
Court-
yeah, I know what
Clear
that one
Creek.
was too. They purchased that one from Pulte, right? That was off the north,
Oh, on Slate Ridge.
but that has a little ravine also. Typically, Epcon tries to be around 4, so I do a lot of stuff with them. They yell at me.
The courtyards at Clear Creek, off of Gooding Boulevard is 2.61 dwelling units. The, courtyards, let's see.
yeah, those are a little bit slightly less dense. I could tell. This is very close to
You've been in zoning for as long as I've been alive.
years, 20. You were in high school when I started. Probably. Dang, you were in high school.
I got 2 in tonight.
This is terrible. Could you reduce the density to 3 units per acre?
I've been told it wouldn't work financially. And they've been at this for quite a bit of time. They didn't even like losing the 6.
Yeah, but I just feel, so these other ones are lower.
Well, if it were multifamily, we'd be below 4 units to the acre, so
I
we
know.
could hit that one.
Is there anything else you can do to mitigate this
You have to
view?
do 72 units,
Is it 72?
right?
Is it that
Because
many?
it's 24 acres,
Mhm.
right? So 3
72,
acre is
yeah.
72, so you have to do 7 more units.
7 fewer? Is it really that many?
I'm not gonna change the feel or anything of that.
That's not that big of a deal,
No, it's
right?
not.
even-
No, but I don't like the
20.
idea of, I don't know. Is there anything else you can do to add? Anything that could help the residents?
I would like to think that, given that we are doing empty nesters, the traffic isn't going to be bad. We've done the mounding, we've done the landscaping, we've set the buildings back.
Made the North Road side.
Exactly. So it's a pretty compact community that we'd like to think isn't necessary. It's not going to negatively impact our neighbors.
I think it would be less impactful than a single family.
Oh, a single family, absolutely. Trips generated by car would obviously impact all.
Oh,
of
yeah,
the
and even if the traffic studies are averages, I know for a fact that when I had, 3 kids living in my house, we were in and out 20 times
100% of it.
a day. So even just from just observational, there's no one that ever comes in and out. When would you start building these? When would construction start?
Probably fall of next year. It's gonna take that long to get engineering.
And you have to get septic or sanitary sewer. You still have to extend that.
Sewer's right here. So
Is it? Okay.
yeah,
You just
So
gotta
fall of next year, a year away.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Any other questions from the board? Okay.
Guess not.
As far as voting, as always, I need to know where the board stands. I don't have a problem with this application, so you are too. Okay. Lisa, where are you at? Got 2 right now.
Well, that's all you need, isn't it?
Yeah, but I'm not going to cut you out like that. I mean,
Here we are.
I wouldn't do that.
I'm kind of torn because there's a lot of concerns here for me, but just having been in zoning for so long and seeing, I think, thousands of applications over the year,
You
I
have.
do feel I've known Jack since the beginning,
Oh my
right?
God.
He was one of the first back in the 90s, but in the beginning, I didn't trust that these kind of homes would actually not have empty nesters, but I've seen, 100 of them built. They don't have kids in them. I think it was a way to have grandparents and things live in a development like this. I think it would generate very, very little traffic. I feel bad for the people of the south that will have some traffic through, but I really
They had traffic with single family either way.
Oh yeah, but it's still. So I had no preconceived notions whatsoever when I got here. None. I couldn't make up my mind, of course. But I think I'm in favor of just for the reason that it will add very few school children. It will not increase the burden on Olentangy schools. It should be a very quiet neighborhood. You'll have very little in and out. It will be very peaceful, which I think will add more value than a single family development, even though I am a little bit concerned about the density. But the mounding on the front should obscure a lot of that. I think it looks like it will be a nice development. So I think, in my opinion, the pros do outweigh the cons. So after it gets built, the residents can hold us accountable if it is not what we said it is. We're all up for election in a few years, and if it ends up being
Not me.
100, if it ends up being some disaster, then we'll hear about it. But I really believe on my experience and knowledge that this would be a nice development.
So I'm going to read the recommendation of the zoning commission. I want to point out when I read it, it is going to be the with amendments version, or with modifications, because we're going to stipulate the 3-foot mounding at the southern side to further block the view of the residents, the separation there. Okay. Make a motion to approve resolution 22-363 to adopt the recommendation of approval with modifications of the zoning commission as to zoning application ZON 22-09 of HM Latitude LLC for Aurora Farm Single Family Plan Residential District.
Second.
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes. All right. And that'll conclude the zoning hearing.
Thank you, folks.
All right.
All right. Thank you for coming, everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you for your input.
Make a motion for a 2-minute recess.
5?
5-minute
We might need
recess.
5.
Second? Yeah, second.
Okay. I'm just going to tap on one of the numbers from the end.
You gonna get a vote? Let's do it.
Okay, so
I'm so excited.
I'm just going to do 366 for
366.
Mm-hmm. We're ready. It's funny.
We're ready, yes.
Okay, make a motion to return to regular session.
Second. We didn't do that. I mean,
That's okay. We're returning to regular session. So I'll make a motion to approve resolution 22-366 to enter into executive session conference with township attorneys concerning a dispute that's the subject of imminent litigation pursuant to Ohio Revised Code section 121.22 G3.
Second?
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes. Officer, Board of Trustees, HR consultant, HR director, senior manager, I guess, Mike Kremnitzer and Michelle By.
Thanks.
I did too.
I didn't want to, I hate like eating fast. Plus my tooth. Oh, yeah. It'll take me forever to eat. I should lose some weight.
She's gonna share the screens in case you want to sit here and eat.
Oh, and that. And then out of revenge, she just does a close up on me. Ben's like, close up.
All right.
Sauce on my nose.
All right, we're ready.
Okay.
All right, make a motion to approve resolution 367, return to regular session.
Second.
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp? Mr. Grumbles?
Yes, in executive session, we counsel with our attorneys on imminent litigation. All right, moving back to the agenda. Jumped around a bit there. We've got development and zoning next. Turn that over to you, Mr. Duffy.
Thank you, sir. Who's ready to talk more zoning?
Me.
All right, on the zoning hearings and meetings report, we had the public hearing that we just had with the Board of Trustees for rezoning application ZON-22-09 that was approved with modifications. Thursday, December 15th, we do have a Board of Zoning Appeals meeting. We have an application on there from new business that is looking to build in Orange Township. They are seeking to reduce the minimum light level along parts of their property. We also have another variance application that same evening for an area variance for a deck to encroach into the rear yard setback of 35 feet. And then lastly, we do have two rezoning applications that were voted upon by the Zoning Commission last week. So we will look to schedule them with this board. We do have two resolutions before you for that purpose. So rezoning application ZON-22-10 is the Aldea single family project, and then zoning amendment ZON-22-11 to amend current plain industrial district to allow a new light industrial building on North Central Drive.
Was that one, either of those controversial?
I would say Aldea is controversial. Yes, the North Central Drive is pretty straightforward.
Aldea is the application that's zoning like multifamily, but their plan is single family, and it's density.
It's
there it
super
is.
dense. What's it
Even
dense?
higher.
3.98.
And that's with 4 lots that are like 2 acres apiece. Factored into
Those
the
are
entire-
those rentals?
Those are, I believe their business model is to rent at first, yes.
Yeah. Okay. All right.
That might be a fast hearing, yeah. So we, I was going to propose in December that we move our first meeting, December 7th to 5 o'clock, and then the second one to 4 o'clock. We do, if
Okay.
that's okay with you guys.
Yep.
And then could we
Is that
do?
okay with staff?
I think staff would prefer that.
They vote yes. And
You want to do like a noon
oh yeah,
for
on
both
that
of
day?
those?
Sure. Wait.
Is
Well,
noon?
When are you done
what-
with or one or?
Let me, sorry, but so
Oh,
for
the zoning though.
zoning, yeah, I mean, so for, if we did the December 7th at the regular meeting time, which we wouldn't have to republish, we can do the zoning hearing at 5 o'clock. Or,
Well, the logic behind that would be like, have we gotten a lot of we've gotten public feedback on this, I'm assuming?
On that one, yes.
yes.
Are
So,
they
yeah, we
on
have
that?
2 hearings that we would need to schedule for the next board meeting.
Okay.
Do that one at 5.
Let's do that one at 5.
Yeah, do that.
The
Yeah,
7th
do
at 5.
that one at 5, and then do the other one at noon.
Is that fair?
That's fine.
Okay.
Wait, is noon okay
I
with
can
you,
make
or
it
do you need one?
I
Noon on the same day?
Or 1 or 5. 1 would be.
Should we do one?
No. What we're saying is the meeting that has zoning, we would do at 5. And then the subsequent meeting, the last meeting, we would do at noon.
So you want to move the regular meeting to December 7th at noon?
No, we want to move the regular meeting on the 21st during the day.
Okay, sorry. So just so okay.
On the
So
7th?
that is separate resolution from what we're
Wait, on the
discussing
7th
right now.
At the 7th, we could set it for 5 o'clock, the zoning meeting on the 7th, and then we don't even have to change the time for the 5:30 because we can just start that.
Correct. Correct.
And then we would change the one on the 21st to 1. Is 1 okay with you?
Yeah, I don't care.
I do know something else.
Yeah, oh yeah, that's
1
fine.
PM on the 21st. Is that good with you guys? Or we just double check on that?
So you want both of the zoning applications to be heard at 5 o'clock on December 7th?
Yeah.
Okay.
And then 1 o'clock for just the normal meeting on the.
Let's just make a resolution for that at the end of if that's okay, Lisa, because that's not really a zoning.
Oh, yeah. I just want to make sure that, So we'll set this for 5 o'clock.
At Township Hall.
Yes. On the 7th.
Okay, and then, so let's do that first. Make a motion to approve resolution 22-367, schedule hearing for zoning application restate the resolution. I make a motion to approve resolution 22-368 to schedule hearing date for zoning application 22-11, 7910 North Central Drive, PID, to December 7th at 5 p.m.
Second.
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes. Make a motion to approve resolution 22-369 to schedule a hearing date for zoning application 22-10 Aldea SFPRD to December 7th, also at 5 p.m.
Second.
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp? Mr. Grumbles?
Yes. And then I'll make a motion to approve resolution 22-370, revising the meeting time for the December 21st regular Board of Trustee meetings to 1 p.m.
Second.
Mrs. Faust?
Yes.
Ms. Knapp?
Yes.
Mr. Grumbles?
Yes. Okay. Thank you. Thank you.
Is there a chance we'll have another zoning hearing, you think, by the end of the year?
This year, no.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Bowers, I believe that brings us to you.
All right, insert zoning joke here. All right, so for the world of operations tonight, I've got 5 things. I'm going to try to package a couple of these together at a time. The first 2 are relative to the North Orange Aquatic Center and our contract. As the board is aware, our current vendor and the state of the world have kind of clashed a little bit in honoring our current contract. So, excuse me, with conversations back and forth with them, I'd like to propose to the board a mutual termination between the contractor and the board to terminate our contract, and then clean that up with clean up the dates and some of the changes that have happened in the last few years since it was originally bid, and put that back out to bid.
Would that be for 3 years?
Yeah, it'd be 3-year contracts. It pretty much would mimic the existing one, which is a 3-year with 2 1-year additional add-ons, if we choose to.
And I would recommend when you do that contract, and I don't know if we can do this here, I know in other industries we do this frequently for these reasons, finding something that the prosecutor's office feels we can index on. So, for example, doing some contract work now, and we index on the GS pay scale and the cost of living adjustments that the government makes as a benchmark. You can use the inflation index. There's different indices out there that you can tap into. What that does is if you write the contract to index off of a known index or an established government index, it protects everybody, so we're not doing this again, right? So if the inflation goes up a certain amount, the contract would go up. If it goes down, if we deflate, the same, but that typically rarely happens. You see this a lot too in industry on goods and services, like for corrugate, metals, things like that.
It was the same amount for every year for the 3 years, or did it go up?
No, ma'am, it had an incremental increase for each 3 years.
Yeah, I don't, maybe. I guess if it happens too many times, but then you also would get an automatic increase where they might not even ask for it.
Right.
You know, like if
they might, and this time they had to because of inflation and stuff.
Yeah.
But normally they might not even bother to versus an automatic increase.
Correct.
But I think if it happened often enough.
Yeah, I just worry about it right now because of the state of things, and I think they're going to get incrementally worse.
I would say with the 2 1-year add-ons, if we did elect that route, it would, I'll speak to legal about the way to cap that.
Let's see if
so-
we can do that. I mean, you know.
To do what? Sorry.
To index so that if we do see inflation continue on the path that it is now, or get worse with the state of, I'm not talking, you know, domestically alone, but the world economy right now with everything going on is a fiasco, right? So if we continue to see rapid movement, it insulates all parties. It protects us.
But technically, don't we not have to bid out parks things? Do we have to even bid this out? Couldn't we just negotiate on the side if we wanted?
Probably so. I think that was an option. The reason that I actually asked about going to bid on this, and the reason, and the reason I did that, and I don't know what you all when you had your private conversations, but you know, when you see a jump of the magnitude they were asking for, I think 50%, right? We're stewards of the tax dollar, right? So we've got to go to the market on that. There's no other way around it. And they may be the only one that bids, and they might bid this amount, and that's fine. But I suspect the same people that bid prior will bid on this also, and we may have some competition, which is good.
That's exactly why I said we'll get a better deal.
Exactly.
I didn't agree with the 50%, but I don't know if I'd want to put it guaranteed based on anything, because like I said, then we're obligated to pay them.
That's
correct?
true.
So I don't know if I would index it unless this became like, this is the only time this has ever happened, I think.
It's just something to discuss, what we could do to insulate ourselves and them. The indexing works well because, like I said, it hedges the, you know, if inflation goes up 8%, you might write in that, you know, for every percent of inflation, the contract increases 1/4 of a point.
Yeah, but then again, you're obligated versus them having to come to us and say, hey,
That's true.
you can't make it for, I think we get a better deal without an automatic increase. I guess.
You can do it either way. I mean, my guess is when you talk to the prosecutor, you're going to tell you no anyway.
Okay.
So, but it's worth an ask.
Yeah, we'll investigate.
Maybe there's
make
another
sure-
community that's trying to deal with it too, you know?
Yeah.
Who knows?